Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL Zwift Racing League. Week number 4, we are in the EMEA, EMEA, what are we, there's so many different terms here. The EMEA for today's
E1.
E1, Division 1. No, the main thing, sorry, you guys. The main thing is that we're out here for 4 different broadcasts out here today with EMEA, the European, what is it?
Middle East and
Middle
Africa.
East. Thank you, Middle East and Africa. Quite a great start here, aren't we having, Dave? I'm Nathan Guerra Dave Towle.
I can so relate.
Yeah. Well, this morning where it's kicking off amazingly with Kate and Anna. Now we gotta follow up on that. I think I'm just intimidated. But the races are out here. We're on Magnificent 8 for 1 lap. The main point out on course that we've been watching the last 2 days, well, yesterday and today, is the reverse KOM, as well as that climb out of Fuego Flats. We've seen a lot of teams taken down, actually, some big changes, especially this morning in APAC. It was really interesting on the community side of things. And, in this race, I think we're going to see something very similar. The TTT has been really awesome, but at the same time disruptive in some ways, in my opinion, Dave, as far as like who's who amongst Zwift racing. Having a team that's able to work well together, get the tactic down, and bring the right players to that day has caused this whole new level of competition. And then also with the reality of the way the WTRL puts things together, keeping the competition close, being a points race from 20 to 0, well, 20 to 1 for who can score points, really has kept the racing close. And I think every day, everybody's super motivated.
I agree, Nathan. You know, the thing about the 29 kilometers that they're on today, today's park course was the same as used yesterday for the Premier League, is that if you're an excellent team, you make it look easy out there. The big challenge that they get on that first KOM climb is it will blow the teams that aren't experienced up. I mean, we had multiple teams yesterday, and this is the Premier League, that looked like a dog's breakfast about 5K into the race, right? By the time the good teams are settling into the finale, it was really interesting to watch. Very few teams made it with the full 5 riders to the finish. Generally, you saw 3. That spoke to how hard it was along the way. This is, I think, Nathan, and I'd love your opinion, the most stacked division that we have as far as talent. This course for the good teams, the excellent teams, all will ride in very similar times. We saw a few teams finishing within seconds of each other at the top of the table. So, Nathan, 29K, there's really one significant pinch point. This challenge of the team time trial. Now, a WTRL days on Thursdays, which traditionally, I mean, we're into 81 times this event has been run. We have learned so much. Nathan, isn't it interesting? We've learned so much about team time trialing, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
I'd have to agree with that. What's so interesting to me is that I've been watching these since Team Time Trial number 51 is when we really started with WTRL way back, and I believe it was like March or February of this year. And I'm blown away about how much more we have to learn. You're right. I've been watching this and be like, okay, here's the tactics, whatever. Then I started participating in them just this past 4 weeks or so. And the depth that there is to the tactics of getting the fastest time you can possibly get, different sections of course, different ways to do the drafting as well as the pulling at different sections of course, how you change it up depending on if it's a gradient, what kind of gradient. I mean, you start adding variables to that equation and it starts becoming a chess game, and that's what makes sporting interesting. That's what makes gaming interesting, is that you start adding different ways that you can use a tactic, different ways that you can, play that chess game, what moves you're going to use at what times. Really, that's what's going to bring out sport. That's what brings out esport. That's what brings people back. And I think we are just scratching the surface and learning as a community. And we're seeing teams figuring out these different ways. Somebody I want to shout out, Anna Russell and her whiteboard. She keeps talking about her whiteboard. This morning she's talking about, she's got a whiteboard out with her husband figuring out, here's the 3 different ways that people really kind of do it. And it's really awesome to see. We'll keep on getting into that. Maybe we have to have a whole show just on how to do TTTs because it's in depth and it's way more in depth than I would have ever guessed.
I absolutely love Anna Russell and Kate Bates. They do what awesome colleagues they are, and I learned a ton from them from today's broadcast already. You're right, Nathan. We're really at that point now where you know what I like to use the analogy, music, where the easiest instrument to pick up and start playing is the bass guitar. It's only 4 strings. It's a lot of whole notes. It's really straight ahead. The hardest instrument to get really good at is the bass guitar because
Mm.
it gets unbelievably complex. So what's really simple, it's only getting your third rider across the line. How hard can that be? Well, just watch. You'll be surprised what the teams are up against because no team is going to have 5 equal riders on 5 equal days. You're going to have riders that are feeling exceptional, other riders that are struggling. And the burden for the top riders is how do I get the most out of the riders that will be that third or fourth wheel for our team without cracking them, without creating a negative situation for the team where sometimes, Nathan, you push too hard and you crack.
100%. Yeah. And that's, knowing that edge for your team is so incredibly important as we're learning here because you lose bodies out there and you have lost poles, you have lost time that you can rest. And you got to find it. That's also part of it too, is finding the right riders that mix well together and are willing to put the efforts in week in and week out. Let's go ahead and jump on into the racing though. So for this broadcast today, we are going to be covering the EMEA Division 1 for the East, as well as the women, and then the West for for the men, and then the women they have no East or West, and then for the men the West as well for Division 1. We will try to go across the other categories within this zone in this division B, C, and D with a focus in on the A's as much as we possibly can go across. Though it's a lot to cover, a lot of teams. But we definitely will be going through all of the results as well as some of the time splits as they do come in across the categories in this zone. So here, let's go ahead and jump right in though. Evo, as it's really loud over by the, we jump right on into the fountain. The fountain is definitely a waterfall and a half there. That's for sure. As we jump on in with Evo Turbo Snails, they were the first one out. The lowest seeded team will see if they can make their way up the leaderboard. They're holding off WEZ. Interesting enough, World Elite Zwifters with Guerrero, they're only 1 minute back, so no time change really between the lowest seeded team and the next seeded team out on course there. And a little bit of directions coming on through, it looks like, from Balenciaga out of Spain there, actually saying 2-1 lines. So a little bit of direction. That's what we're talking about. It looks like de-essing a little bit to let everybody know how to ride this as they're heading on into into Ocean Boulevard. About 6K in, and we will have the splits 6K, 12K, and 18K out on course today, Dave.
Okay, that's going to be critical. We will learn a lot. Even at 6K, we're going to have a really good feel for what teams are on their A game. Hey, I saw a shout out for Anna Russell for one of the riders that she's a director sportif, and they're watching the event right now. I see Christina Grossman in New York is giving Anna a props as what an amazing director Anna has been. I'm glad we're on Anna's team too. That is for sure. She has a lot of brain power that she brings, and that's one of the things that you really need here. So, Nathan, I would like to look. I realize it's the men that we have on course right now. If you watch yesterday's Premier League race, watch what that Hino team did. That might be the best example of a balanced team, Nathan, where not one rider was a weak link really at any point. Really strong. They have the depth, and they knew how to push just hard enough. It was a really good example. I would say a textbook example of how to ride this event. That's one of the great things about our community leagues. As Nathan mentions, we have riders all over the shop today, around the globe at every level. There's a level for you if you want to get involved with racing. You're going to have to wait until the next season starts, but we're already now at the midpoint of our first ever ZRL season. So, Nathan, looking at a team that's doing a really good job here of keeping the formation tight.
First time does come in, it looks like here. I believe that's going to be a 9:21 from the 8:21 from the Evo Extra Turbo Snail. So good to see solid time there. That's going to be the benchmark. And as I said, WEZ pretty close there. Within, it looks like about 9 seconds, 8 seconds there difference between the two. So there will be updates as we go, just so everybody knows the data does update on the fly a little bit when it first comes in. So that initial time sometimes needs a little bit of adjustment. We are seeing, I believe it's
Like
going to be
that.
right
Yeah, it
about the
happens.
same. Yeah, 821 as it does come in, as it does adjust to make sure everything's right on the back end API. But it does look like that was correct when we said earlier, when we saw that it was a 1 minute difference. Is that going to be Lockwood? No, that's not the same Lockwood out of the UK. I was going to say Corey Lockwood riding for WZ. What is going on here? And no,
Yeah.
that's going to be Guerrero, Letros, Lockwood, and the rest of the WZ crowd. More of an international team than the US team with Legion. And that would be quite the pickup there of WZ taking away one of the Legion riders.
You know what, though? These days, Nathan, it wouldn't surprise me. It has been really competitive with teams trying to pick up riders. But you're right. In this case, Corey Lockwood didn't change teams, at least not that we know of. But actually, I shouldn't even joke. I'm sure he's happy with Legion. They have such a good thing going there. So, Nathan, a little bit of a problem now. You can see that two riders together is never optimal. As you'll be wondering, are they looking to bring a rider back or riders behind them? It is worth remembering here again, this is as true of a team time trial event as you can find here. Over 29K, they're going to go through the ringer, no doubt about it. These splits, then, as Nathan mentioned, it gives you a really good rough estimate. The backend API will sort everything out. WTRL does an absolutely amazing job of getting this data up so that we can use it. Also, you can go to Zwift Power and see who the riders are, get a little more background on them if you want to start peeling the onion back a little bit to learn more about the teams and riders. It's easy to go into the events tab at zwiftpower.com and find the race. They even highlight the races that we cover with Zwift Community Live. I can see how that happens, Nathan. It's not only Lockwood, it's C Lockwood, right? That's World Elite Zwifters, one of the teams that dominated in this sport for quite a while. You see teams, Nathan, make runs, don't they? Maybe like Wonder Women are doing now. We saw it from Socks for Watts. We saw it from PO Auto. Teams, when they get good, stay on top of the hill for a while, but no one remains champion forever, not even Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, that's true. And also the competition makes it so that you do get some recruiting going on, as well as riders just get motivated and figure out the game, as well as put the training in to battle. And I think, in the women's side of things, that Socks for Watts, Wonder Women, I Race Like a Girl, those have been the kind of 2020, obviously, there as well. The top teams that have been battling for that spot, they unseated the champions early on, which were the Choppers, who motivated, it looked like, that whole women's side of things in Zwift to just really start to accelerate at the top end. Now, in the men's side of things here, this field has a lot of depth, which is super interesting to watch here. The reality of Wahoo Lacole in here, some of our other top teams, Deepak will be watching out for them, Vikings Ragnarok. This is going to be interesting to see because some of these teams in the points race dominate this zone. But when it comes down to the TTT, I think that there's a whole different story. Wahoo Lacole did not have the best TTT last time. They really, they showed up on the points race. They've got some big hitters, but it's not just about the ringer when it comes to the TTT. Maybe they'll be able to pull something off out here today. We'll have to figure out who they brought to the table, I think, though, too, for Wahoo Lacole, is whether or not that's going to work out. Because I think last time they just had some superstars and then more riders that were right over that 4.0 watt per kilogram just into the A category that might have been getting put through the ringer by their top all-stars trying to hang on.
Yeah, Nathan, going back to what you were just saying, if there was ever a specialist event, this would be it. I mean, this is like when you look at the knowledge that's required to really execute, there's different techniques that are used in this sport as well. As we're going to, when you start looking at these times coming in, Nathan, and I'm looking at the 6K checkpoint, look how close this is going to be today. 8:21 for two teams. That's going to be Evo and World Elite. You then can see it's only 4 seconds back to Cryo. Then you've got SZ at only 7 seconds back. So 4 teams within 7 seconds, and you only have to look 5 more seconds back to pick up the Dogos, so BCRT. This is going to be an absolute Donnybrook out here. Here's a good example, Nathan. You were talking about filling in the gaps yesterday. Absolutely critical. The savvy rider, the really good teammate. Wouldn't you look at Reznikov from yesterday? didn't she do that job that you're talking about? Was always there to keep the team in a tight formation, shutting down gaps before they became a problem. I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, it's definitely a big, um, a huge part of the TTT being that rider who glues everything back together. I think a lot of people who are used to doing TTTs in real life or have watched TTTs go down get this idea that it's just straight line, take your pulls, and make sure that everybody is kind of on clockwork. It's almost like make sure you're playing the cog in the machine in just a very straightforward one-to-one way. Where no, it's actually like you have like 3 different touch points, 4 different touch points actually about a role that can be played, and that gluing things together when somebody comes through with a big momentum to make sure everybody else is able to carry that momentum through the draft is a role to be played. And Reznikov definitely did play that role yesterday from what I could see. And Anna did a great job this morning actually in the APAC. If you haven't watched the APAC stream, explaining exactly how those roles are playing out and how people are starting to be dedicated to that roles. And that's really exciting for me from an esports standpoint and an MMO standpoint. No, somebody who's come from a gaming as well as a professional cycling background, knowing how massive multiplayer online games are played when people are after a similar project and they have to play different roles in order to get to the goal that everybody's doing. It's pretty cool to see those different touch points and different roles to be played. So everybody feels like they're a part of the game. They're a part of the project. They're a part of the getting that award at the end. And it's really rewarding, really good feedback, because when you're a part of a scratch race, you can maybe play a role as a lead out a little bit, maybe cover attacks. But at the end of the day, once the break goes and it's over. And a lot of times in Zwift, people just get dropped. It's so hard. The racing's insanely hard. And so because of this, you can end up with riders who always feel like they can contribute. Such a great aspect of this whole discipline.
You know, Nathan, dovetailing into what you're talking about there, the team time trial is really just a really long team pursuit, a 4-kilometer event on the track. And you have very specific roles when you're doing a team pursuit. There's going to be the first rider that takes that pull that brings you up to speed. That's absolutely critical, right? You want to get the team up to 60K per hour as fast as you can, but keeping everybody together, right? So that means you have to do that with a smooth, powerful effort. And that's really smooth, powerful effort, not a rapid acceleration that blows everything to bits where you have to recover. That's a great example. I know that on a lot of the teams now, there's an assigned role. The rider that, if you're going to be the rider that takes that first pull, and sometimes it's an extra long pull, the first one, getting the team up to speed, it can take a couple of minutes that you'll see one rider doing that. That's critical. And then as the next rider takes over, you don't want to have a surge. We're looking at exactly that problem right now here, Nathan, for the Swedish Zwift team that we have in front of us. They'll get this sorted out pretty quickly here. But this is not, again, sub-ideal.
Yeah,
as you say, what you want to do.
Go ahead, Dave.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So, well, a lot of times what ends up happening in these situations where people get confused, they just lose momentum completely because of the confusion. Okay, well, we need to reorganize. Well, in the reorganization, a lot of times, Dave, you end up losing 2 or 3 kilometers per hour. Then you have to get back up to speed. Well, that whole conundrum usually loses you 5 to 10 seconds. And as you can see how close the times have been in these finishes, 1/10 of a second at times has been the difference.
Right, it's incredible.
You can't lose that.
Well, and what you're saying, and you said it yesterday, Nathan, I completely agree. So err on the side of keeping the speed up. Now, don't blow up the team while doing it, but if you're pushing through from the back, rather than freewheel for 5 seconds, roll up to the front, and then roll back as myself, I do that all the time when I'm trying to ride with the pacer bots, right? It's really hard for me to just stay on that wheel. I keep surging, and so I'm working on it. Well, that's exactly what you don't want me on your team. It's a good way to put it, because I would keep making this happen. So what you're looking for, you talked about the glue. Well, some rider needs to be the glue right now, and they're doing this. This is a really good example here, a learning moment. How do you bring the 6 riders back together? Well, you don't go shooting past them and slow down, right, Nathan? You come up to them, and then if you can, you try to nudge it a little. That's the perfect word, nudge it. just a little bit. Don't just slam the accelerator down on the floorboard and leave it there. You got to feather this stuff.
We're looking, it looks like Team SZ are having a solid ride, actually, because look where Cryogen are at. They're at full 231 back. And we did say yesterday that that climb would be crucial as to where people were going to end up in the TTT here today. That reverse KOM, you have seen it already. The damage that can be done. And if you do not press the pace up and over the top, you can end up with a huge gap between yourself and the rest of the riders. Now, interesting enough to see, it's a full 621 between Vikings and Cryogen. So I have a feeling that there's a team, probably one or two hiding between, maybe even three, hiding between this team, the Vikings, and Cryogen out here on the change-up of roads between Watopia between the old school Watopia and the new expansion over to Fuego Flats. We'll see if we can find some of the other riders out there. But it does look like Vikings Ragnarok are having a solid ride here. They're about 1 minute, a little under a minute up from Volendam. Volendam hammering, though. 7 watts per kilogram here coming from Zaremba. And then it's going to be Zwan there chasing him down, Van Breda as well. And this is a team that we've seen mixed results from, I would say. You know, it's been interesting to watch them because we've seen them take down the win in the past in the WTRL TTT on Thursdays and kind of walk away with it. It's been, I think, maybe a mixed bag, perhaps because of changes up in the roster. Not exactly sure, but this past couple of weeks, I think they've had like a re-energizing of their efforts into the TTT.
Yeah, I agree, Nathan. I think they're actually moving a little bit closer to the team that they're chasing right now here. This is going to be interesting. So the top teams have been seeded to leave the pen last out here, as Volendam is a good team to follow here. They have a lot of experience on the WTRL, which absolutely translates directly. Now, the teams are a little bit smaller, a little bit less wiggle room out here when you're racing on the ZRL. But it really, if you look back on traditionally, it was 4 riders that were used back in real life team time trials. 6 is closer to the number that you see in the modern day, 8 riders in World Tour teams. That's really the last place that you see team time trials happening in real life is in those races. There's not many chances for juniors to do this, although it does happen, that's for sure. And I know a lot of riders really love this experience. And with what's happened with WTRL, it's a worldwide movement out here. So taking a look at these splits today, 6, 12, and 18K is where we'll be checking in with the teams here. That 6K check tells us an awful lot, Nathan. As we look at a team, everybody is going to struggle out here. This is as challenging as they get, 29K of racing. But we really throw the kitchen sink at the teams today.
Let's take a quick look as we are about halfway through the race here of the Men's East Division 1A. Definitely want to highlight what's going on with all of the teams in the standings as we came into this. So as we came into this, it was going to be Fusion ECT leading things out. They're going to be the last to go on the day with 58 points. Just 3 behind, though, is going to be Kara RDT, and it's going to be BZR Sports Solid Esports Team Red. Kirchmer Angry Bees are in there as well. Then it's going to be Fudre XO, Vision EMEA East, DBRRT, DZR Danish Dynamite, and SZ Hemrod, followed up by CCNS. The Mighty Mallards. It'll be interesting to see how the Mallards play it today here. We'll see where they're at out on course if we can find them. And then in the B category, DBR Tornadoes with a solid 60. They've been dominating, obviously. 2 guys, Matajuto. Then it's going to be the Belgian Zwift rider Lions, SZ Mimer, Evo Vortex, and then SZ Heimdall, Wolfpack, Cryogen, Belgian Zwift Riders, Lions, and then SC Foresta. Now, the battle there looks like really for 3rd place on the day, but it's always going to be close, I think, Dave, between these riders because of the way that this is organized. There's still plenty of racing to go in the Community League with these current standings, and the way that this points organization goes, it's never over till it's over. C's now, Dave, as you can see, Vikings at the top.
Yeah, let's go ahead and run that table for you here. Vikings Valhalla with 59 points, which is pretty close to a perfect score, as right now it would be 60 if you had won all 3 of our previous ZRL events. There's been 1 team time trial already, and then they were out racing, for example, in Richmond last week. So this is the 4th of 8 So just about to the halfway point. And second is TT1. That's Team Type 1, the Sharps, with just 1 point back. So that's as close as they get there. SZ Volley in third with 50 points. Then you've got Team Italy 5. Sitting in fourth. In fifth is BMPRO-C. Then Foudre Cognac in sixth. Kirkmeyer Stinging Bees seventh. Vikings Yggdrasil in eighth. RMACCHW, they're sitting in ninth. And then Newberry Velo Pumas in 10th. So that's our C's. And then we should have the D's as well with SG Frey as our leaders. And they've got a perfect score. They're on a roll right now. Great job. As Belgian Zwift riders, the Gorillas, one team in second. Viking Osbergs, they're sitting in third with 50 points. And then it's really close here with ZESP Chinchillas in fourth, but 48, then 46 for Kirkmeyer the Bumblebees. They're only 2 points back. 1 point behind them is Cryogen Koppenberg. Then you've got the Newberry Velo Lions in seventh. Tuga Z Psycho in eighth. PRCC Delta ninth. And then Nathan GC on the mend. They're sitting up in the top 10 right now. So that's a good look at all of our team league standings, the tables for the A's, B's, C's, and D's as we can jump back in. That's going to be WTRL. Love these guys.
Volendam still on screen here. Let's go ahead and jump in and see how the splits are going, though. Looks like at the top spot at the 12K, I think it's going to be the Vikings Ragnarok, actually. We will start getting that 18K coming in, and the board will start to shift for the 18K. But at that 12K mark, Vikings Ragnarok with a 16:08. So kind of walking away a little bit. Well, I mean, this is still really close. This is what's cool about these divisions, is that because they have organized this in a way at WTRL that you're getting the best of the best are all with each other at the top of the division, you are going to end up with really close races like this. And really, it's going to be that serious battle at the top end of this Division 1 for access to that Premier League. Pretty awesome to see. And I think because of that, that's why we're getting such a tight race at the top end. It really brings everybody well within their ability range. And what's cool to me is also that we are discovering through this new way of ranking racers a better way to categorize, actually. You know, you go out and you do an FTP test, that kind of gives you an idea. It's very gray, though. It's very broad, whereas this is through results. What do you got? How close is the racing? What kind of, I mean, this is based off of like how close are your times, literally in an all-out effort for 30 to 40 minutes, week in and week out. Plus, how good are you as a team in points racing, in a whole dynamic way of racing to grab as many points as you can. It's really great to see how it's bringing all of the racers so close in these abilities.
Nathan, it would be like judging a baseball player's ability, right? If you talk about saying how good of a bike racer is rider X based on their FTP, by judging a baseball player strictly on how far they can throw a baseball, right?
Exactly.
That's one thing, but it's not even close to what makes you a great baseball player.
Yeah, not even close, Dave. That's,
all right.
And you know, on that whole, that's a great analogy, actually, because there's so much more to bike racing, obviously, than just what kind of watts you can throw down. You got to know when. You got to know also the reality from the coaches coming out at me a little bit of like, I think a lot more about many different peak powers when it comes to what can people do for different kinds of times as well. You've got TT specialists, you've got sprinter specialists, you've got all different kinds of specialists that are going to be better at different types of racing. So, you know, and riding a bike. So there's a whole lot more to it than to just go out there and do an FTP test. And now we're going to be able to find that stuff out. We're going to be able to pull out of Zwift, pull out of the riders, what is it that they're good at, and be able to reward that at the top end of this genre. As we look at DZR here,
wow,
one of the top teams actually, sitting in the top 5, I believe it is. So DZR are looking to get some points on the day here. Look at this press, though, at the front. That's going to be, it looks like Toft.
This is a hard
with Danish Dynamite. Yeah, big pull.
It's hard to keep the team together through that little sector there. These guys are doing a tremendous job. So this is the Danish team that we're looking at, Nathan. This is as old school as it gets, right? I mean, the old Danish jersey. The team basically, they're going to get it back together. This is a really good example of what I learned from Matt Gardner of the Saris the Pros Closet team about how And Nathan, I'm sure you watched that YouTube video about this style of racing, which is how he likes to do it generally, or their team likes to do it. Well, once the order gets disrupted, you don't make an effort to get everybody back in place. You just adjust to what you have, right? So there is a lot of that. You're flying along and building the landing gear as you go. You're constantly adjusting and changing, and you never know what's going to happen out there. A rider might start to struggle at some point. They'll start skipping pulls. But one thing, Nathan, that I would say, and I think you'd agree with this, is it is much harder to keep your team in a tight aerodynamic formation on plot, if you will, on Zwift than it is in real life. It's something about the attention factor. You just can't take your eye off the prize for a moment, or you have a gap opening up, and then if you're the rider that lets a gap open up in the middle of the group, that's going to be a huge problem for other riders in front of you and behind you. So you can very quickly you could use that old everything was going fine until it wasn't, and that can happen at any moment. This is a team that's going to be looking coming right through the middle part. It looks like you found the Mighty Mallards, this team out of Connecticut, Ben Wolf and company. I enjoy this team, and they've done a really good job. I'd recommend the same thing. I think you would too, Nathan. They reached out and shared some information about the team, and it was great to learn about what these guys are all about. I know Ben Wolf for many years is racing out on the pro circuit. Aiden Charles on the team does a great job of exactly this, getting the team in ducks in order. That's a nice pun intended. The ducks in line.
Yeah, and just loving the Mighty Mallards, what they're out here doing. Very cool North American team for sure. And it does look like, though, they had a hard time over the King of the Mountain, actually. We're looking at Wolf here as well as Badger. They're just going to finish up their race, it looks like. It's only 4 left, little over halfway, though, through. So we'll see what kind of speed they can hold on to. 43 kilometer per hour currently coming from the Mighty Mallards here. As he goes backwards, 47. Good to see. Coming from Pronovost. So solid little kick, and Pronovost probably one of the stronger riders here. They got to glue this back together, it looks like here. Need some communication, but 48 is what you need, 49 at the top level of this kind of a TTT.
That's exactly
Fuego Flats.
Yeah, unfortunately, a solid little kick works great on Richmond when you're racing points race, but not for a team time trial, because he's got, now you can see what happens. His team's going to have to reorganize behind him, and then they go flying past, right?
Yeah.
So this is not the best moment for the Mighty Mallards right now.
It's not the best. If they can glue it back together and keep the speed and then rest up a little bit, but these short pulls, they have to provide the rest needed. And with only 4, it can become very difficult to find those times to rest up a little bit, especially if you get those gaps like that. So good point.
Well, they're just getting it together now here. So that was actually pretty good recovery here by the Mighty Mallards. As Nathan, I'm wondering if
they did not slow down. They kept their speed, Dave. They actually did, but it probably put some people in the hurt locker. 195, Charles. Oh my gosh.
Well, I can just tell you that when you have gaps opening up in the team, that's never what you're looking for. I've never heard a reason why that would be good.
Well, you should come do a TTT with me, Dave.
Opening gaps in the team? I mean, it seems like it'd always be better to be on the wheel.
No, it is always better. It is always better. It is. But there are moments. So as you can see, there is a tactic that's being experimented with that is about a small gap with the glue rider shutting it down, which then pulls everybody up to the speed of the burst of the rider who went by. So there's this idea that person who's gluing things together will never take a pull. They'll always just be riding at just a little bit below and then maybe a little over at times what their FTP is going to be, or right around there, to close that down. And their only job is to carry the group across to the burst, and that burst will always be a momentum gain for the team. So it's a new way that people are experimenting with. It might not always work. It's an experiment, but this idea of like a quick burst to the front with a glue rider, a rider who is a healer for the team that brings everybody back together and is always providing a draft that's consistent while they are bringing momentum through. So speed bursting is an idea that has been experimented with.
All right, let's take a look at these splits that we have coming in, because almost everybody is now through at 18K, and you can see the fast time is going to be really fast. Volendam with a 23:18. So that puts Vikings Ragnarok sitting in second right now. We're still going to be waiting for that Foodra XO time to come through, but it looks like Volendam's going to be the gold standard. And it's close, though. Evo Extra Turbo Snails only 4 seconds by. Now, again, as Nathan mentioned, you might see these times adjust a little bit here with some data, back-end API coming through, but it looks pretty solid right now, actually. Ragnarok at 23:51, 23:55 there for Extra Turbo Snails, and then only a few more. Yeah, there's a good adjustment there. Just an example of what we've been talking about is World Elite Zwifters coming in with the 23:58, only 1 second then behind Evo. So, Nathan, we have 2 World Elite Zwifter. I'm not sure what that is. We'll figure that out. Dirt Wolfpack 2409, Cryogen in. All right, so let's take a look at. It looks like we have DVR on screen right now. Kay Farrup, the rider that we're focusing in with, and Nathan, they have the full component, the full team together right now.
Yeah, it's solid ride here coming from DBR, actually, as they're able to keep it all together. And at this point, they might be one of the only teams that survived the reverse KOM, as it's done a lot of damage to some of the other teams out there. So solid ride here, it looks like, from the DBR team. Farrup, long-time rider out of Norway that's been on the broadcast for quite a long time. Very strong rider here, currently hammering away. There are 2 WEZ teams, I believe, that we've got a number 0, and the other one may be number 1. Not perhaps. It'd be good if there was a little better tag in there to understand. But we did see 2 WEZ teams in this division. There is 2 in this division, as we can see. But
most of the teams will use something like what would be a good example? Cryo, using the different birds for their team. So I didn't realize. I guess number 0 must be just their way of designating the other team. So now we know. Now I know.
Pretty even between the 2 there, Dave. That's a 23:58 and a 24. Yeah. So very close race here between inside the team here. So very cool to see that they're challenging each other for that 4 spot. Actually, they've got Evo Turbo Snails right on the 5 seconds is all the differences at the 18K mark. So that's really great to see.
All right. So, well, it's going to take a lot to bring back WTRL Volendam. And Nathan, that speaks to experience, doesn't it? This is a team that of the 81 WTRL Thursday team time trials that we've done, they've been at most of them, I would say. And that really is going to pay off at half of the events that make up this, the first ever ZRL season will be team time trials. Boy, look at this formation right now. It doesn't get much better than what we're looking at here.
Yeah, this is super solid, actually, at the front end. Very cool to see how well DBR are riding this. I have a feeling that we have to watch out for them for a top time. I think we're waiting for a little bit more updates coming in from Zwift Power, though. Volendam were the last time that we got at that. But there it is, Danish Dynamite. Little ways back, though, from Volendam. Wow, Volendam with a solid ride. I mean, Danish Dynamite looked like they were flying. We'll wait for that DBR team to come on through. We are seeing the chat waiting 4 more times on the splits. They do update on the latest that did come through. So we'll get a better idea as each of the teams come through the 18-kilometer mark on the boards here. But we are looking at BZR here. This is one of the top teams. They were in 3rd place, coming at 53 points for the league standings, currently in 3rd place. They need to make up some points against Fusion and Cryo RDT. Depending on how they play out for the day here, we might see a change up a little bit in points. If Fusion have a bad day and they're, outside the top 5, lower end of the top 10, and we do see a solid ride here from BZR or Cryo RDT, they could overtake. So, big point differentiations with the reality of the TTT being sometimes a thorn in people's sides.
Well, it's interesting, Nathan, when you look at it, right, in the tables that have a team with 59 or 60 points, that means that they've won 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 3 rounds that we've already raced. So if you're going to beat them now as we hit the middle part of the season, you're not only going to need to start getting firsts and seconds to get the 20 and 19 points that come along with those results. You're going to need to see a massive failure from the team that's leading in that category as well. If they keep getting seconds and thirds themselves, you're not going to get enough points. There's just not enough real estate left. So what you're going to really have to do is not only continue to stay consistent and get good results yourself, but hope that they derail at some point. And your best chance to do that especially after we're going to be looking at now with Volendam here, is going to be to come at them during the points races that we'll have next week and then the 2 weeks after that. Because, the team time trial is a pretty pure event. If a team has ridden this twice and been on the podium, you can pretty much expect them to stay, if not on the podium, very close to that. You're not going to see too many teams just completely come apart at this point in the season. They've really established the level that they're at. As we pick up Fusion here, all right, another team. It's always fun to watch.
Currently ranked number 1 in this zone in Division 1. This is a team to watch out for. Fusion ECT, they put together some of the best racing over the early spring and late winter this past year, and they've been around for a long time. This esports team, Fusion esports team, is definitely one to watch out for. I think for a jump into the Premier League, they're battling for it, and they do have an in-game kit here. I think they took a little bit of a break for a little while, organizing the events and racing at a very, very high level. But I have a feeling this is kind of another restart from a long-standing team, been around for a long time. Soren Bay, he has been at live events that qualified for live events in real life championships that were organized by some of the esports organizations out there, as well as Zwift. So Soren Bay, very long time rider out on Zwift at a top level. They've got the experience, and I think that with this launching of the ZRL, they're going to be ones to be watching out for. And they're very detail oriented. I would, as far as Fusion ECT goes, I would compare them to that mechanic that you always want to go to, because you know that they took your bike completely apart, completely oiled, and made sure every single part was exact, and then put it all back together, took pictures of it, and showed you, this is what I did. They engineer in the esports world.
It would fit the positive Danish stereotype, right? Very thorough and complete and professional. This is the team of Alexi Kalman, Bitter Hansen, Dennis Locke, Jeppe Falk, Jeppe Todball, Michael Madsen, and then you mentioned Soren Bay, and that is the national champions jersey there.
That is like those names.
Big
every
names.
Name that you said there, I was like, I have commentated and said that in a winning move or in some sort of crazy, diesel moment. So this is a top team, and that's why they're at the top currently of this division with 58 points.
Yeah, that's an all-star team, no doubt about it. And I mean, look how they're operating out here as well. Really good example of how you do this discipline. As Nathan always points out, this moment right here, pushing over the top, keeping the speed high. And these guys are doing exactly that. I mean, they're moving at 50K per hour. In old money, that's 31 and a half miles an hour. Make it more like 32 miles an hour right now that these guys are cruising along at. And believe me, the feeling going through your legs at this point, Nathan, as they're right at 10K to go, this is where you really go deep into the pain cave now.
Yeah, definitely. 163 beats per minute, though, coming from Bay. Let's see if we can get a couple of the other riders' avatars here. Not loading completely for us at this moment, but if we can, we will definitely jump on in with them. But still solid riders, you can see. Good speed coming on through. It looks like, as far as the times go, though, interesting enough, I'm not seeing Fusion, though, at the top spot here just yet. Now, we might have to wait, though. They're just coming past the 18K, though. So we may be just waiting for an update from Zwift Power to figure out where exactly they're at on this border. I'm going to see if maybe we can reorganize it just for a moment for the 12K and see where things were at 12K. As we look through here, 16, 12, 15, 4.
Yeah, not seeing them.
Interesting enough. And that's not to be expected, actually. I would definitely expect to see them in a top spot here. So we'll have to wait and see if perhaps there's some tags. There might have been a tag issue.
That's probably it.
I have a feeling that's what's going on here.
Yeah. So, Nathan, the one of the things I've really learned about the team time trial is it's a specific event for the racers, and a lot of the pre-race rituals that you have aren't exactly the same. And that's one of the benefits of having the experience of doing WTRL, is that you learn the drill. You really get that process down. And so for that very reason, we see this, and I have learned there's so many things that go into, just like putting on an in real life event, that has a separate set of issues dealing with police and permits. Here, it's dealing with data. And our friends at WTRL really, really work hard. And the numbers are mind boggling. Here's a number: working 22 hours a day, right? I mean, it has been incredible what they've done to get this league up and running, and it's really been paying off for so many riders who've been enjoying this. And this is certainly a unique way to enjoy an evening in Europe. This is getting down to the business end here for our men. Now, we have races going on all day. They actually started long before we got going here, but this is the Europe, Middle East, and Africa E1 Division 1. Again, multiple divisions, men, women, all over the planet. But here's a strong team now finishing up. So we're going to start seeing some finishing times, Nathan.
Wow. Not WZ. I just saw Volendam catch the Vikings.
That's unbelievable. That's their.
They are absolutely flying. I mean, I was not expecting to see that at all there. Solid ride, though, as you can see. We're jumping back in with WZ. Sorry about the jump around a little bit there, everybody. But it looks like WEZ0. This is going to be their top team, I believe, because I think the team that started before them will be their one team. So I think it starts at their 0, then to 1 for their top teams as they hammer away here. 36-11 currently. I think they may be just outside the top 10 at the last 18K mark. We'll see if they can make up for that, though, as plenty of teams still with about 10K to go for DBRRT. I think also a little over 10K to go for that Fusion ECT. We also do have the women's European, Middle East, Africa about to take off. First time I got that there, Dave. And they're about to take off out on course as well. So we will be covering that. And then we will be covering the men's West as well, just as a heads up.
Well, and it looks like they might have found a Fusion, Nathan. So we'll do a little more digging around as let's take a look at the last few hundred meters.
Real quick here on the Fusion update, though, that is crucial because they are sitting at that checkpoint. They are sitting
20 seconds back.
They're a little ways back. Yeah, they're not in a great spot. And that's not that this board needs a little bit of an update, actually, but that is not going to be in their favor, I think, here. As far as the times go, that puts them in the top 6. So there's definitely some points to be gained here for some of these teams that are just chomping at the bit to try and get into that first spot here. So we've got some Premier League qualification on the line.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to call that a shocker, but it's certainly interesting. There we go. Taking a look. It's a 23:09 for Cryo RDT in the house. That is a really quick time as they are 3 seconds faster than Vision. And then you've got Volendam with the 23:13, only 1 second back. Look at that, Nathan. Look at that. That is your Donnybrook that we were talking about with only 4 seconds separating the top 3. Make it 6 seconds separating the top 4. It is on like Donkey Kong out there, Nathan.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the results in just a little bit. We're going to stay with these boards. We'll keep everybody at a little bit of attention about, what's going to end up happening here. We don't want to start prematurely.
That just tells us it's super close.
But it is
right?
so close.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like, look at this. Between the top 7, even there, there's so many points up for grabs there, too, as well. As it looks like we've got Volendam finished now. Were they able to bring that back? Looks at this DZR rider. Just says, okay, go ahead, boys. I'm burnt.
Sacrificed himself. He sacrificed
100%.
himself. That was beautiful. I love a teammate like that.
In with the Mallards now. Only had 4. I think they did get caught, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with the Mighty Mallards with the CCNS. Back in with the Danish Dynamite. They're said and done so far. See if we can find a few others.
There's a lot that can change from that final check, Nathan, at 18K. That's 11 kilometers from the line, and there's a little bump that you go over along the way, too. So, there really are 4 teams that could win this race when you look at, and you could even talk about the Angry Bees still being, but there's too many teams close to Cryo RDT. The Angry Bees would not only have to be faster than Cryo, they'd have to be faster than Vision, Udre, and WTRL Volendam. So that's a little too much to ask. But one thing's for sure, we're going to have a team that has really earned it out here. And Nathan, we might see again teams finishing on the same second when this one is done and dusted. And that's the effort, cracking the whip. One last surge across the line. Time taken off of the third rider. There you go. Done and done.
Now, looking to try and jump in with a couple of others. We're going to go ahead and take a quick little break on the live images here. Apologies, everybody. Our tool's acting up just a little bit on us here today. Let's see if we can jump back in with a few of the racers finishing up as they are out on course still. I believe it is going to be the Fusion riders with Fusion ECT that are going to be the main story, though, that we're looking at, because it does seem that the this situation currently with Fusion in this top seeded spot, they're in danger right now, Dave, of losing that right now.
Anyway, Nathan, while we're getting things reset there, let's take a look at the season where everything stood points-wise coming into this one. And let's maybe get a feel for what teams are going to be looking to try to move up or who might be in danger of being passed out here, because we do have a feel for the teams that had a good ride out here today. It looked like Fusion, Nathan, was in that top 4. It's still not over. They could still win, to be honest. It's not over. They were within striking distance, although it wasn't going their way, as they say. So we're working on trying to get the actual race data for you. Taking a look right now, though, this is how it stood coming into today's race. So we've had 3 rounds of the Zwift Racing League already. A perfect score would be 20, 20, and 20 for 60 total. And Fusion, not that far off. That's 58. So Cryo RDT men, who had the fastest time at the last checkpoint, sitting 3 points back. So oddly enough, Nathan, if Cryo does win and Fusion finishes 4th, so if we did take a finish time at that 3rd check, we would probably have a tie in the overall here at the midpoint of the ZRL.
Yeah, that's going to be, because Cryo RDT came through with a really solid time as well. BZR was right there. So this is hotly contested, very hotly contested. Yep. We are jumping back in with Fusion here, actually. We have found them on course. Sorry about the little bit of a break there we had to take on some of the live images. But Kalman,
we're back.
We're looking at Alexi Kalman. This is top rider as they head on over toward the Biodome / old school Jarvis Island transplant, as I like to call it here. As Soren Bay comes through at 7.3. It's quite the surge around the corner at 50 kilometers per hour on the flat. That's what you need. They're coming in hot, really hot.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, Nathan, I wasn't ready to say that they won't win here, because they very well might. They're going to want to tighten this up just a little bit here as they ratchet it up. This is what happens now. This is a really experienced team that's in the hunt for the win, carrying that speed at 50K per hour now, watching it fade a little bit, but I think they're going to be able to get this back in line. So this Danish team just firing on all cylinders. Nathan, down to 4 riders right now. So they've got, I mean, obviously, if you had 5, it'd be a little more helpful, but 4 is a pretty decent number to be rolling with here with 3. Make it 2K to go.
2K to go, 2K to go. 34.18 currently coming from the Fusion team. 6 watts per kilogram on the front. Can they pull through continually at that? Now, if I were in the minds of these riders, all I'd be thinking about is keeping it over 48. And look at the drop there. Looks like Madsen didn't come through exactly as he needed to. It was a little bit. Now, did you see the difference there in the timing? It's so about timing, about how you come through, how the speed comes down or doesn't come down. They could have kept it over 48, even 49 there. It's a very difficult technique, though. The timing is so key. You do not want it to drop down below that speed you're looking for. It looks like Madsen, though, doesn't quite have, though, what Bay had to pull through. He might be well, no, they can't sacrifice at this point. There's only 4 left. So they got to bring them all to the line here.
Yeah, and so this is it now where you really start to feel the lactic acid pooling in your legs as they're going to pop up right now. This 3% grade hits you like a body blow at this point. You got to keep the team together. They're showing real professionalism here.
Yeah, and at the front now, it's going to be Soren Bay, 7 watts per kilogram, pressing on now, trying to pull everybody up over the top there. Locked to the back here. We do see a little kick here coming from Martins and the rest of the Cryo RDT team. 36-34 is what we see coming in through them. Woo! They are going to have a solid time, I think, Dave.
Well, that shows incredible depth. Cryo in full effect. That time, I don't know if Vision's going to be able to better that, Nathan. Cryo hit hard out here today. Boy, I take my cap off to that team. That was outstanding.
Well, huge result there so far coming in for the team. Let's see if we can bring in the
Cryo,
current
RDT.
standings, though. I believe we do have. Let's go ahead and put them in the corner here. This is what they're looking to beat, as you can see. Going to be that 36-56 still for Volendam. We'll keep this up on screen to see
Hold
how
on,
things
though.
end up playing out, though.
We're still waiting for Cryo to be, I think, slotted in there.
Yep.
They're quicker, actually. So that will update. So what I'm saying is that's correct, but we haven't factored in Cryo, and I think they're going to be the new number one, Nathan.
I didn't look at the top, actually, at that point. Now, look at this 36-35, though. 36. This is right on the edge. It's right there. They need to sprint full gas to the line. I'm not sure they can make it within 10 seconds. I don't think so.
No.
Oh,
They're just
so
going to go
close.
outside of Volendam is my thought here. But again, I think the Cryo RDT, and I'll let the data will speak for itself here, but I have a feeling, let's put it that way, that Cryo did enough out here today. And that just makes things even more interesting when you look at our ZRL series. So that's a 37.06, we'll say, using shorthand there. And
Find the tornadoes out here.
Division B.
Jump in with them. Maybe see if we can find the tornadoes. As
it's a really good time. 39-31. I'm sorry for the tornadoes. Nice ride out there.
Yeah, they're having a solid ride. It looks like we're gonna see if we can jump in with Vissing or a couple of the other of the riders out there from the team here. Can be a little bit of a struggle bus so once in a while to find some of the riders here, but looks like they've already finished actually out here today. So a lot of the teams already coming in, it looks like. So we're going to take a quick little break from the images as we do have the women about to start out on course. It's about 1:42 to the start of the women's race. We will be covering for the European Middle Eastern African Zone, Division 1. We'll be focusing in on the A's. We're going to look to try and jump across. We will look at the results, though, as they do come in. We're going to wait for the results to fully update. We definitely don't want to jump the gun on any of that. While we do that, we're going to take a quick break here for about 3 to 4 minutes, and we'll be back with the women's EMEA, as well as the results that just came through from the men's as well. So don't go anywhere, everybody. We will be right back. See you in about 3 or 4 minutes for the women's, as well as the results from what we just watched. And welcome back to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL Zwift Racing League, EMEA. You know, this morning Kate was joking about how many different acronyms we actually have within this whole. So I'm cutting myself a little slack on that one, but definitely we are excited to present now the women's side of the racing here for the EMEA. They're just jumping out on course. We'll be taking a look, though, at the current league standings, how things are currently going here for the women's side of things in this. And we'll also be looking at the results, though, how things just played out. So let's take a quick look here. How did it play out for the men's results? We just saw a very heated battle at the top end. Now, I was expecting something really different from what I'm seeing here. But,
I'm curious what you're looking at right now. So
yeah,
get ready, folks. Here it is.
Here we go. So let's go ahead and take a look here because this is really interesting. I'm going to throw it to you, Dave, here because this needs some hyper Donkey Kong excitement.
Well, there you go. And take a look at that. What stands out to me is they are deadlocked at 5.2 watts per kilogram. So both teams doing the same amount of work, but it was Volendam with the 36.56 taking the win. But this will have 3 teams within 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, a historic moment here for the Zwift Racing League. You want parity? You want a Donnybrook? You want it on like Halo 3? Well, here it is. Volendam finishing 0.34 seconds ahead of Foudre XO. Vision, we talked a lot about them today. They end up in third. I mean, that is hard to believe. Not even a tenth of a second behind. That is incredible. Cryo RDT men 7 seconds out for fourth. You have 5 teams within 16 seconds when you add in the BZR Sports Solid Esports Team Red. Kirkmeyer, the Angry Bees in 6th. They're only 23 seconds out. 30. So not one team, Nathan, is more than a minute out. Kirkmeyer Angry Bees at 23.02. That's good for 6th. Fusion ECT. Hard to believe. They go down into 7th. What is going to happen on our points table is going to be incredible. So they end up in 7th. CCNS, the Mighty Mallards, in 8th. DVRRT in 9th. And then again, everybody within a minute with Evo, Extra Turbo Snails in 10th. Nathan, I've never seen a results board like that before.
And that just goes to show the amazing job that we have seen from WTRL making this racing exactly what we're looking for. Tight racing, competitive racing. Amazing to see here. Let's go ahead and go through all of the results here for each one of the divisions within here. Within each one of the categories within Division B, Division 1, B. You're not looking at DBR Tornadoes here. I'll get it eventually here with a solid tactical ride at 3.9 average. Obviously, they know how to ride this TTT with the 39-31. 16 ups for 2 guys. Montejuto with the Belgian Zwift rider. Lions 1 coming on in 19 seconds back. That's the top 3. Evo Vortex there, 4.1 watts per kilogram. Pushing the A's there a little bit, but not the technique they need. 24 seconds back. SZ Heimdall, 5th place there, 4.3 watts per kilogram, 51. Cryogen Zun Kolan with the 3.7, 53.13. Wolfpack ZRG getting in 7th place there, 54 seconds back. All almost within a minute here. SC Mimer, Kirchmer, Honeybees, and then Belgian Zwift Riders a minute and a half back as we start to see things spread out a little bit more. And then in the C's, there you go, Dave.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. So the Europe, Middle East, and Africa E1 Division 1 Cs, it's BMPRO. I call them Boom Pro C with a 43.07 for the win. Vikings Valhalla, 12 seconds back. And look at this one, Nathan. Another incredibly close race here. That's basically a tenth of a second there between Valhalla and Sharps for the silver. Incredible ride by Team Type 1 Sharps. My heart is always with our diabetic friends out there. Cryogen Isran. So they're using the great climbs around the world. They're 1 minute back in 4th. SC Valley in 5th. WTRL Caprica in 6th. Crank Up the Dirt 7th. Team Italy 5, 8. And then in 9th will be Evo Core 1 with Udra Cognac rounding out our top 10. So Okay, Nathan, that's our C's that leaves the D's. The salt of the earth out here is SJ.
SC, yeah,
Sorry, go
SC
ahead.
Frey there. SC Frey there. Solid ride. Coming in with 6-2. So kept it together. Three seconds back. Is that really that close? Or am I? No,
Holy
that's
cow.
going to be.
Well,
It
so
looks like that's super, super close here. If I'm not incorrect, I'm just going to double check this here on the
interesting.
signage.
Yeah,
No, the
I'm
point.
going to say that those are minutes.
Those
is
are
my
minutes.
guess.
They are minutes.
Right.
You are
So,
100%
yep.
great there. Viking Osberg followed up by Club Pod Droy. Then it's going to be GC on the men, and then ZESB Chinchillas, Kirschmer Bumblebees, and Newbury Velo Lions. That is how things played out. As we're getting an update, looks like here for the rest of the D's coming across of us.
Good.
I think they're still out on course, so plenty of the D's still finishing up as we do get an update for the top 10. So that's the situation there. Let's take a quick look, though, how it's changed up. We'll jump in with the women here as the first are still not even over to the reverse KOM. We should have an updated board here momentarily, and we do. Look at this, Dave. Check that out.
Okay, well, we talked about it. The tie is in full effect. 72 points at the top of the table for Cryo RDT men after their incredible ride today. Fusion didn't have a bad day. They just weren't incredible, and they end up now deadlocked there. It's going to be third place for BZR Solid Esports Team Rad. They're only 1 point ahead of another tie, Nathan. Foudre XO and Kirkmar Angry Bees at 68. This E1 Division 1A, this should be the most exciting division that we have for the rest of the year. I don't know how anybody can create a better storyline than what we've got here, Vision EMEAE. That's going to be your sixth place team right now. WTRL Volendam in seventh, DBRRT in eighth, the CCNS Mighty Mallards in ninth, and DZR Danish Dynamite in 10th. Nathan, does it get better than this?
Look at the Volendam too. With that win, they've really bumped themselves up because I'm not even sure they might not even been on this board prior to that. So solid kick,
Yeah.
as you can see. So in the B's though here, DBR Tornadoes still with their domination. You guys at Montagut though, they're sitting in second there. Not a whole lot of change up. A little bit. The racers got, I think, a little spread out actually. I think we're getting a little bit more of an idea of who stands where, even though the times are so close, which really tells me that it's still up for grabs. Just some people need to go up and go do their homework a little more to maybe get some more change ups here. Belgian Zwift Riders though, Evo Vortex, SZ Heimdall, then it's gonna be SC Meinmer, SZ, the Swedish Riders here battling out for 2 points, it looks like, between 5th and 6th. Wolfpack ZRG, Cryogen Zonkolin, then it's gonna be the Belgian Zwift Riders Lions 2 and 3, rounding out your top 10. Over to you for the C's there, Dave. As I think we might have lost Dave there for a second.
I'm sorry, Nathan. That was my bad. Vikings Valhalla with 78 points sitting on top of the table. Team Type 1 Sharps with 76, only 2 points back. Then you go 10 points back to SZ Vale. They're in third. BMPRO-C in fourth right now. Team Italy 5 in fifth. Newbury Velo Pumas in sixth. WTRL Caprica in seventh. Cryogen Isran in 8th, Foudre Cognac 9th, and Crank Up the Dirt in 10th. So that's the C's. We should have our D's. Yeah, good job, everybody. Perfect score for SC Frey, Nathan.
Yeah, they are flying. Now, this may need an update. I'm not going to say that this is fully updated. That most of them might have come across the line, but if anybody had a standout ride this week, there might be one or two still scoring here, but I have a feeling the top 5 at least are going to be correct there. Even up in those 50 points, a lot of times hard to grab, obviously much more than that. So across the weeks here. So solid rides here all across though. SC Frey, Vikings Osberg, Belgian Zwift Riders, ZESP Chinchillas, then Kirchmer Bumblebees, Cryogen Koppenberg, Tugas Seco, Newbury Velo Lions, GC on the men, and then PRCC Delta rounding out your top 10. So that is how things stand amongst all of the categories after the round number 4, week number 4 of the EMEA Division 1 East. Now, we've got the women out on course here, and they're about to head in. The first team that did jump out on course is about to head into the reverse Queen of the Mountain. We've got Avid A, TFC Furiosa, and then TFC Vixen all kind of chasing each other out there. We'll take a look at the current standings as we get into the racing because we are missing a lot of the racing. And for some reason, we just love this fountain. This is the section that Scotty the Squirrel attracts us here.
We have a new friend working with us, John. I thought maybe he was in the bathroom or shower or something when we were hearing his mic. That is legit. All right. So same course, Nathan, 29K. It's going to be, again, quite a trip here to that first time check. We're going to find out what teams are on it and what teams are going to be struggling pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and it does look like a struggle here from Avid a little bit as Furiosa are flying here. Wilhelm coming up like a freight train with the rest of the TFC team as they're going to make a catch pretty quick.
This is incredibly early. So there's a lot to unpack on your screen right now because this is only 6K in and they're making a catch of a team that started 1 minute in front of them. So something must have gone horribly wrong out there.
Yeah, I think perhaps, well, we'll have to wait and see. Though there's a big differentiation, though, too, between a lot of the riders, I think, in this top end. So perhaps
these teams have been seeded now. These teams have been seeded through 3 races already, right? I believe that their start was based on how they stood in the overall. So that's pretty exceptional to make a catch that quickly, for sure.
Yeah,
you wouldn't expect
maybe
that.
Avid also struggling a little bit on the day. Now, it looks like a little split, though, here as a kick was coming from Wilhelm to push through. McGinty and then Mitchell, they got a 1 second gap to a couple of the riders. Now, they do not want to slow down. Really, Durrell and the others here should sprint across, I would think. If they can't, though, go with a 190 beats per minute going into a climb. This is going to be a tough situation as they went through as best as they could, but it looks like they got stuck on the wheels of Avid. They got that drafting, where you get stuck. They didn't push through quick enough, and now you can see it's going to be tough at 190 here going into the most crucial climb on the course.
All right, so here we go. Bedlam out here in the early going. Teams starting with 6 riders. I'm taking a look at TFC. You can head on over to Zwift Power yourself and see the makeup of the teams. Also a good example of we have 2 different Socks for Watts squads out here. Nathan, I was talking about that battle between Socks for Watts and Aeonian that has really been shaping up. We'll take a look in a few moments at the overall, how the series has been going here for the Zwift Racing League, as some of the top teams are yet to be out on course here. But today is going to be an epic battle here. Just like you saw with the men, this division has been bringing out the best in our athletes. TFC Furiosa on your screen right now.
Yeah, solid ride here so far from TFC. Really impressive, actually, as they make their way into the first climb. This will be the most crucial point. We were saying Durrell maybe going to be struggling, but perhaps not. Going from 185 steady here, 20 kilometers per hour. I want to kind of focus in on what kind of speeds we do see through these sections of the course, because they're going to be the most important section of the course to really be thinking about, as you do see Harvey, McGinty, Wilhelm, and then Mitchell all making the way to the top here. Avid trying to chase them down. Now Harvey with a little bit of a kick, 15 kilometers per hour, a little bit of a gap. See if they can bring it back together. I think they are going to do so. Again, when it comes to the tactics and climbing, my opinion, you just have to match each other's watts, especially at these sections, and make it happen, and then grab a wheel over the top. Match the watts, grab a wheel, and really it's going to be all about holding the best watts per kilogram you can through the climbing sections, getting the rest you need with some of your all-star riders taking the big pulls at the front. Looking through here, looks like Fearless now with Ferocious now. Lithgow, Danny King, and then it's going to also be Tranter. But this is a little bit of disorganization here from a team that I would expect not to be having these kind of struggles here, Dave. I mean, Danny King, Allen, I mean, this is interesting to see.
Well, I mean, as you were saying, just match the watts, right? Well, easier said than done. That's for sure. If you could just match the watts all the time, it sometimes riders are struggling. There's no doubt. And that's where you have to adjust. And the top riders need to figure out and re-strategize. How do we keep going the fastest? Because you're only as strong as your weakest link. in this sport. So, you're going to see right now, you'll watch them reorganize, talking about Ferocious here, and they'll be able to do this pretty quickly. It's really, I mean, you can, what do you do, Nathan? Do you ask the riders who are struggling to go harder, or ask the riders who are on the front to ease up a little bit? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, 100%. And we think that Allen here is doing a good job keeping it pretty steady.
Well, they're
King,
going to
and
make a
then it's going to
catch.
be Tranter. Yeah, this is going to get interesting here as they catch this Avid team. It's been a struggle for a couple of the other teams, especially if they end up matching here. They cannot get stuck on the wheels. Need to go right on by. And after already kind of getting blown apart, this can be a struggle. So, got to really press on. And essentially, Avid need to back off just a little bit at this point and not grab a wheel. And as we do see a couple of the other Fearless riders, the little gap here again, didn't get too stuck. Danny's going to look like she's going to be pulling Tranter across. I know Danny is a very strong rider, perhaps looking to throw a wheel to her teammate here. If we do see, she can see at the bottom now. Get an idea here of how this works. That 6 meters, 7 meters, she's going to be saying, come on, grab my wheel, come across now. No, you cannot let this go. Look how she grabbed the wheels here. These other riders, look at the speed that was pulled through. Look at the difference there in the speed because of grabbing those other two avatars and getting into that draft.
Oh.
It does look like Tranter made it happen, though, and they're all back together.
Yeah, and now you can start to steadily start applying that pressure again and bring the speed back up. Once you've got, the train can't leave the station until the bags are on board. Always important to remember that. And at this point, they've still got 20K of racing ahead of them, so they definitely can't afford to go down to 3 riders at this point. 4 riders is going to be imperative. So we should be looking at some splits coming in here and get a feel for what teams are on a great day. I have a feeling Ferocious, even though you can see that even the really strong teams, this is a tough course. You really are tested on many fronts out here, and they have survived their first challenge with 4 riders still rolling on here for Ferocious as we're in with Tranter right now.
Yeah, Tranter, solid ride to get back on terms. She was struggling there for a moment, it looked like, but now in with the RCC Women A as they make their way into the climb here. Abbott with a little bit of a gap. She's trying to press the pace here for the other women. It's going to be Bardov Gadya. Hopefully I got that one there. Then it's going to be Sear as well as Reed Taylor back here from the WTRL Firestorm trying to chase them down. They have brought back about 20 seconds from the start, actually. RCC women, though, welding it back together. Solid ride here as Abbott leads them over the top of the Queen of the Mountain.
Well, yeah, getting over that pinch point, Nathan, that Queen of the Mountain, it becomes a different bike race, doesn't it? Once you go through that gate, it certainly then you can settle into more of a rhythm because that climb is a monster. It's not so much the actual physical effort of going over the climb. It's keeping the team together because a climb like that is really where you separate out ability. That's for sure. When you're just looking at watts per kilo. I mean, we could talk about Danny King, super strong rider here on this team. Well, let's just go ahead and focus on Abbott right now, the rider out of the United Kingdom, as this team is definitely finding their rhythm here.
Yeah, it looks like I'm pretty impressed actually here with this team out here. And the pace they've been setting over the top 4-5 is no joke. That's for sure. So solid ride here so far. We'll keep on moving through, though, as we can see the Viking Valkyrie team here trying to chase down Firestorm. It does look like they closed down a solid gap so far to them. 30 seconds is the only difference, so good kick here. Canyon Dev out on course. Good to see Higginbotham as well as Garcia, and then it's going to be Hunter and Lytle. Now, but this is a split. This is not what you want to see. They need to come across quickly.
Yeah, as you said, Nathan, it's one thing to have this happening right now. Once you go underneath that arch at the Queen of the Mountain, that's where, if the team isn't together, you really start scrubbing off valuable seconds there, because that's where you really need to be locked and loaded and then just, dig in as a unit. You can't afford to be trying to weld things back together at that point. So there you go. It looks like, yeah, boy, this is a wild race that we're looking at out here.
Yeah, and Hunter, very cool. I wanted to give a little background on this team. Everybody does see the Canyon Esports team, obviously. at the Premier League. That's the top tier. But the Canyon Dev recently announced, just in the past couple of weeks here, lots of young, I believe it's mainly U23, if I'm not mistaken, is what it looked like. But young talent, development, support being given to that to try and grow the sport even more. This is the future of racing when it comes to Zwift and esports. And it's really great to see Canyon put the resources into it, put this together, and get the mentorship around them as well to try and grow these grassroots teams to bring into that top level of sport in the coming years.
Yeah, you have to give credit where it's due. And Canyon, as you said, Nathan, it's the full spectrum of riders that they support and encourage with that program. And that is a brand, Canyon Bikes, that has really embraced esports racing. And it's been really cool to see the community that they themselves have built up inside of the Zwift community. And, that's a big part of it. Finding your team, finding your group that you enjoy racing with and riding with, and then seeing how far you can go with this whole thing. As we're looking at a team having a really solid ride. Now, we've seen some teams that have not been having their shining moments. Well, this is the exact opposite here. This team has got it all together right now.
Yeah, we do see a little ways back, Revo having a very solid ride here. Holt, Downey, Styles, Bat, Ward, as we see. So solid ride coming from Revo, as you can see. USA here, B Ward, 155, and closing down times. It's so interesting to see as we get into the seating here and back in the other teams to get an idea of how they're going against each other, and really seeing the difference in the kilometers per hour, as they're 9.2 in 14:41. You do see Canyon here at 35. A little bit of an uphill though here. Maybe why there's a little bit of slowing, but definitely Ward and the rest of Revo here have brought back some solid time.
Yeah, and another team now, here's a squad that has everyone all together using that blob technique. Nathan, I think that this course might be ideal for it. Okay, Revo on their A game, no doubt about it. Oh, I'm going to be very interested to see when we start looking at our splits coming in out here, how they're doing, because it's hard to imagine that they've fallen outside of the top three. They are absolutely crushing it as they go through the QOM here. A lot of momentum. They got to be feeling good about the ride that they're having here as they're inside of 20K to the finish as well. That confetti there, well deserved.
Yeah, and a solid ride here coming from the Revo team, as you can see. Now Draft, though, trying to make a chase, but a little ways behind. We'll see if they can make things up here, as that's a full 141 up here. But it may be because of the climb. The climb in the middle of it all can change up, obviously, the gaps between them. So hammering away, as you do see with Team Draft. Long time standing team. It's going to be Collins to the front here, Blazed, and then Hulse Suzanne as well toward the back here. Now here's the Socks for Watts Pizza Party, though. And this is going to be a team to watch for. I believe we've got a couple of Sox Watts teams, those, in this category. So we're going to have to wait and see how this one plays up against the top Sox Watts team.
I think we have 3 Sox for Watts teams, Nathan, if I'm not mistaken, because I see that Bexy Dew is out here. So the first one, let's just say Watt TF. I've got Bexy Dew, Cassie Baldy, Claire Good. That's a super strong team. Then you were mentioning Pizza Party, so that's Ellie Child. I'm trying to look here. Also Helen Jackson, and that's the team that we've got on your screen right now. Leah Thorvaldson is with the Watt TF team. Laura S. listed as one of the Pizza Party riders. Polka Dot Bomb is the other. So Socks for Watts has been a movement of the people, Nathan. I mean, this has been a great example of what happens when you start picking up some momentum and women want to join in. They see you've got a good thing going. And I'm trying to keep going here. Ruby Oaks with the Polka Dot Bombs. Rachel Elliott. There you go. There's a big name, Nathan. Rachel Elliott out with the Watt TF team. So that's going to be their A team. Lizzie Duncombe on that squad as well. She has it listed differently, WTF, but Lizzie would be with that team as well. So 3 different Socks for Watts teams. I wouldn't be surprised if you see all 3 in the top 10, 2 in the top 5, possibly the champion standard coming out of that Socks for Watts program.
Yeah, and we're going to keep looking around here as we do see it's going to be a French team, just straight French team, it looks like here. Sox Walks Polka Dot Bombs, this is what you're talking about, as you can see. And then it's going to be Roberts here, HDRL. We are waiting for a couple of splits to update here. I do believe this is the time of day that Zwift Power does slow down as we have so many European, so many of these European events going on. Everybody starts visiting zwiftpower.com. So we'll see if we can get some updates coming in here as quickly as we possibly can for these rides out here today.
I can't think of a better example of a good problem to have, right, Nathan? Because it's a bummer for us because it definitely slows down the data. But if there's that many people that are interested, someone's doing something right too. That's for sure. So I'm glad so many people, and I know that unfortunately for folks in Europe, it looks like it's going to be another lockdown for a decent number of folks. And as this has just been such a challenging 2020, this has been one of the bright lights. So big thank you to Zwift and WTRL for just helping keep people motivated out here, giving folks something to do. Racing in a team time trial certainly has been one of those things, Nathan. I mean, you're even out there racing now, that's for sure. Hey, I want, along with our friend OJ Borge, World of Zwift, it'll be fun to see what teams are able to make it onto that broadcast this week, as that's been a fun addition to the season here as well, having a chance to do a highlight show every week out of the United Kingdom with OJ. So I'm sure right now that everybody kind of trying to figure out what is going on with that data, because that is empirical for a time trial to have. And so everything is fine, no worries. But we're going to look at a good team who are deep into it now, getting stuck in, as they say, 9K in, so 20K to go.
Arctic Rollers is who we're looking at here, AHDR. Then it's going to be the Flyers. Bristol, solid ride here coming from this, you can see. So we're waiting for this data to come on through. As soon as we do grab it here, we will get it on the screen. I think we're starting to get a little bit of something here. But again, Zwift Power here struggling a little bit with the reality of so much happening at once.
All right. So Bristol Flyers, another team now. So we've talked a lot about the technique that's being used. One thing's for sure, Nathan, whose perspective are you looking at it from, right? The top riders who are in a really unique position of trying to get the most out of their teammates without cracking the shell of the egg, versus the riders who come in knowing that it's going to be really, really tough for them to deliver the goods. My heart really goes out to those athletes. That's the person that's taking on the huge challenge in an event like this. For the top athletes, part of the challenge is not becoming frustrating that you can't go as fast as you want. The realization, Nathan, that not everybody is as strong as you sometimes can be a moment. It's a learning moment for athletes about your character in some ways too. We've talked so often about how if you are the strongest rider on the team, you don't go faster, you go harder longer. And that's how you empty out your tank. I mean, the goal is to get as much as you can out of everybody and still have a rider with you who can get a time. That's an important moment there, because as you crest that KOM or QOM in this case, you start to really move into the next phase of this race. All right, so we're just going to race natural style, Nathan. There's plenty of riders. It's interesting when you look at a time trial or team time trial who don't like getting information, right? They'll take that earpiece out of their ear. Nairo Quintana is famous for that. If you watch that Movistar documentary, you can see that he had about 20K to go in the mountains every day. He just takes it out of his ear. Forget it. There's nothing you can tell me. I'm climbing as hard as I can. I know what I'm doing. Well, there's plenty of athletes, Nathan, that don't really need any information, or they don't want any information. They know what they're doing. They're all in. They can't go any faster. They're not going to go any slower. But for other riders, getting that information is absolutely the brain food that they need. Completely the other end, where they feel like they're riding uninformed and they don't like that experience. It's interesting, the psychology of the athletes that you have competing at this level. And I mean, you can talk about the Olympic level actually. As there's no question that in this sport is such a wide spectrum of personalities and mentalities that go to the highest level. There's one thing that's always going to be true in my mind is no matter how talented you are or how strong your work ethic is, it's still going to take a really amazing combination of those two things. That's a well known moment on this course now as they drop down and move into what's going to be, again, really the second phase of this team time trial. We're in with Z Sun, the Rise formation, and Zolberg is the rider here. And this looks, again, South African flag here. Always nice to see. And that's the A in the EMEA. Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And South Africa has a strong cycling scene, and it's always nice to see they're well represented out here in the world of Zwift. So going
Yeah.
single file here, Nathan.
We are getting splits coming in. It looks like 1835 there for Viking Valkyrie, Revo Arrow. We saw them flying just a little ways behind, though, at that 1843. WTRL Firestorm chasing them down. Canyon Development doing a solid ride, it looks like, here as well. Just a little ways back. We did see them in RCC Women battling it out over the top of the Queen of the Mountain. TFC Furiosa having a good ride, but Viking Valkyrie, I think they are the standard right now that everyone's gonna be looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look back at the 6K check. I'm not seeing Aeonian and I'm not seeing Socks for Watts WTF, which are the two teams I expected to be absolutely sitting up in our top 5. So I'm wondering if maybe we have a little more refreshing to do.
Looks like so. Soxwat's Pizza Party, 1815 coming in. So they did.
Where's the
better, it looks like, yeah.
WTF team? Is my question then. We'll see.
Yeah, so what I'll do a quick explanation here because of the way that the boards work. We can go ahead and go to, I'll try and bring it back to the 6 kilometer mark. With so many teams going out at different times, a lot of times the way that it does update does get a little bit of confusion there. I'll go ahead and bring it into the 6K. And at the 6K, draft ZRL, Socks for Watts Pizza Party. Then it was going to be Vikings Valerie, Revo. I think perhaps we're still waiting for the update. It's very slow right now from Zwift Power, so we'll wait and see if we can get the Socks for Watts WTF out there. This is at the
and Aeonian as well. That's
yeah,
and you know what? I'm fully understanding that. What I'm saying is I wouldn't use these as your concrete results to tell, or I have a feeling that there's more to come, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, 100%. A current splits here at 12K, though. Socks Watts Pizza Party, 1815. Draft ZR, 1822. And then Viking Valkyrie. So we're starting to see those top seeds starting to come in for their best time. So for the best times of the day so far.
All right. So you're starting to now get a feel for how this course becomes such a challenge for the teams out here. Having 5 together halfway in, not bad at all. I'd say you're doing better than the average, Nathan, for Z Sunrise right now.
Yeah, they're having a super solid ride, it looks like here. 1919 in here, Z Sunrise. They were middle of the pack. Now, I'm not really seeing them, though, in that top 10 so far. So we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out for them as we are starting to get some updates coming on in. And Firestorm followed up by RCC Women, then TFC Furiosa. Now, as they do come in at that 18K mark, it does start disrupting things. Let's see if I can try and pull something a little differently here. Let's see if we can get an update on the way the data organizes as well on the boards here. But 6 kilometer.
I apologize. It gets confusing for sure when you're seeing that. What happens is, so it's updating on the 18-kilometer checkpoint right now. But again, I wouldn't put too much faith. We'll let you know when we start feeling that that's going to be really, really solid there. So we do get a chance, though, to look at a team working the formula here in the team time trial, jumping in with BRT. Now, that's a team that's got their act together, Nathan. Everybody on matching Tron bikes. You get the feeling that they all read the memo.
Yeah, solid ride here, it looks like so far from the BRT boys. Ryan there, Gamps, Rodriguez, Low, and then Fairweather at the back here. So, Gamps here, solid. This is always the rider to be watching out for, though. 6.0 watts per kilogram currently coming from Gamps, and very strong leader of this team. Definitely been keeping my eyes on Gamps from Denmark when it comes to being able to just drive the team. A lot of times she is involved in the points races at the pointy end, so she's definitely going to be the powerhouse here that I think the rest of the team's going to be following up, giving enough reprieve that they can to Gamps, and then allowing her just to do her work here at the front.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, Nathan. I mean, amongst the team, they'll be communicating on Discord. The riders are, I would think, almost every team, not everyone, and you have your hiccups out there as well. But the stronger riders really do understand the responsibility here of taking longer, harder pulls and really trying to keep things steady. Is boy, the Danish flag has been up on our screen quite a bit today. As Denmark, a nation, well, the home of world champion Mads Pedersen of the Trek team, and Denmark has definitely got they've got cycling fever going on there in Northern Europe for sure.
Now we are seeing this. I believe this is the Atomic Kittens from BRT here. 18:05 coming in at that checkpoint here. Solid time coming in from this BRT Atomic Kittens, and this is really impressive to see. Now, my question here?
Why don't we take a look at Aeonian? I'm just curious. Is Aeonian? I mean, that would be a good example of a team that 18:05 at that 12K checkpoint. 10 seconds back is going to be Socks for Watts Pizza Party. 18:16 is Draft ZRL. That's only 1 second there. Teams like Aeonian and Socks for Watts, WTF, are teams that traditionally, this is the points table that we're looking at based on 3 previous races, and Aeonian has done a tremendous job here. That's 2 wins and a second to get to 59 total points. Socks for Watts, this is what I'm talking about. These 2 teams aren't showing up in our top 10 right now, and that's my concern, is that maybe somehow with everything going on with Zwift Power, we're not quite getting that data, because that would be beyond stunning, Nathan, to see these teams not riding in the top 10 right now. It wouldn't add up. So Cryogen,
it just takes a while. And the team time trial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to hang in there and wait. So don't use that, what you're looking at 18K. That's probably not going to be at the end of the day. The top
because
10
we have all the teams coming out, and we see how they go from bottom seed.
Well, even look at 12K. So at 12K, Aeonian should have gone through there, right? No?
No, they may have been through already. As the data comes
that's
on
what
through,
I'm thinking.
We're waiting for it to come through. So at the 12K here now, as you can see, still BRT Atomic Kittens. I think we've slowed down the polls here just to make sure that we don't overextend. There's Socks Watts Pizza Party still at the 18:30 though. 18:04 currently still with this Kittens. We can get back here and see how things are going with the Choppers though, as they have jumped in. It looks like good to see that this is going to be. Now, this is interesting. Different names, though. So I'm wondering who we're looking at here as far as the standings go. Vuve Quote, I believe we're going to say there. But one of the riders here that is guest riding or a part of that just with the Choppers in name. So interesting to see. We do see teams made up of multiple riders that are, joining up from other teams. You start mixing and matching a little bit to form these up. So SWW Vuve, I believe it is. And then it's going to be the team type 1 here. Sisu, team type 1, Sisu Du, Pamela Levine, then Nussbaumer as well. SC a little ways back. And there's who you're looking for as they make the catch with Duncombe. Socks for Watts, good as well. Curie's being caught, though, it looks like, in that Sisu I Race Like a Girl. Something we've seen time and time again. There's going to be Thorvaldsen, Rachel Elliott, Bexy Du. There's that Socks for Watts WTF.
Well, good. I'm glad to find them. This is one of the best teams in the world right now. Socks for Watts has been absolutely incredible. Rachel Elliott there is a rider that has been as decorated and respected as any esports athlete racing on the platform. She's right in the middle of this team. Lizzie Duncombe is the triathlete that we've also had a chance to get to know vis-a-vis just exceptional efforts with the Socks for Watts team. This team has been so strong that they have ultimately had offshoot teams. As we mentioned, there's 2 other teams that are basically spin-offs of this Sox for Watts team. They not only have been strong at racing, but they've been really strong at being a positive force in this community. So this is a team that absolutely comes in as one of your top favorites at every race they do. But in the Premier League, Zwift Racing League, that's really saying something as here we are in our community. And this is one of the teams, Nathan, that I'm expecting to be in the Premier League by the next season. You would think that they and Aeonian now are going to be in a real battle, and it's certainly we got a long way to go. But these are the two teams that look like they're ready to make that jump up into Premier League and racing on Mondays instead of Tuesdays. Leah Thorvaldsen, as we have mentioned, Nathan, has been another one of the ambassadors for Zwift, ambassadors for women's racing. She's out of Arkansas, has done an absolutely incredible job of welcoming. She was the first ever Zwift Academy winner, and really part of what made the Zwift Academy so successful is the women that have been part of it. And Leah, you're certainly one of them. Claire Good, the lawyer, hill climbing expert, was just out racing at the British National Championships along with Jamie Lee Wright. I thought it was extremely cool to see some of our friends from Zwift out there taking on that in real life hill climb just a weekend ago. But Nathan, this is a team of nothing but top-notch, A-grade quality racers.
We do see them coming through with the 17:37 at the 12-kilometer mark, so it does look like they will be leading.
There you
by
go.
a solid gap here at 20 plus seconds. So
well, they also
right
had the
here so
fastest
far.
time. And look back then, so now it's showing up. This is what I was talking about. At 6K, they have the fastest time as well, right? So we hadn't been seeing that 8:56 before. 17:37 at 12K. And then, watch for something. I'm going to think in that 26 flat neighborhood for them at 18K.
Yeah, 100%. Good job for Sox for Watts WTF as they bring their ride in here. Interesting to see that they were catching SZ. I wonder where SZ starts here on the day.
Well,
But moving forward here, I was right like a girl. You're going to have their work cut out from the hold off the freight train that is Sox for Watts. As we move our way forward
Let's
here,
go.
though, another team that's got a solid ride here. 18:05 here, BRT Atomic Kittens there. Battling it out with Draft and Pizza Party. Viking Valkyrie trying to make up 20 plus seconds here at this point, it looks like. So that's the battle there for those spots outside the top 5.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're telling the story of the top teams here. And another question for me, Nathan, would be Aeonian, right? 59 points. They have been incredible, but we're not seeing them here. So they might be faster than Sox for Watts. They might not be, to tell you the truth. Somehow, I would guess that when we see Aeonian, unless for some reason I'm missing something and they didn't take the start today, anything's possible. I realize that. So, but if Aeonian is out there on course, we'll try to find them. And I think you'll see them right there with Sox for Watts. Maybe a time between them and Cryo right now would be sort of my intuition.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll have to wait and see where they're at out on course. Maybe there's a tag issue. I'm going to take a look and see. They are leading, so we're the last to start, and Sox for Watts may have just put that much time between themselves and Aeonian at this point.
But they're not showing up at any. They're not on any of the checks is the problem. So even if they're not showing up at 6 or 12 either. So somehow they're slipping through the cracks.
Moving our way forward to the Bristol Flyers here. As you can see, we'll see if we can get them up on the screen here at this point. But we do also have the men's race out on course for the West. And another DZR team that started out first. They're going to be trying to make their way through the ranks. So it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up playing out here in that race. We'll be jumping in with them in just a moment, as well as taking at the current standings. Take a look at the current standings between all of the riders in that category as well. So men's race is out on course. They are just getting over the top of the King of the Mountain here at this point. So we will go ahead and jump on over there and take a look at those splits as well as we do get them. So if you're looking for the men's race, it is on its way here. And we'll be jumping back in with the women as they do finish up. But this is going to be the DZR team here. They are 14:24, as you can see, out on course right now. We do have some splits starting to come in with them. So we will jump in with that here. DZR, Nielsen, Pedersen. These are some top names, as you can see here. But Not sure it's going to be the fastest. Interesting to see that they are not a top seeded team though. So
Huh.
definitely a team that I would expect maybe a little bit more from having, Danish Swift riders, one of the strongest we know of.
Yeah, no, this is a team that absolute monsters. I'm wondering if there's any splits coming in from this group from that 6K check when you're looking at the men here. We'll try to get a feel for where we're at. Again, right now we've got the women into their finale. That would be the EMEA women. Now there's not an East and a West. There's just that women's division, but we do have now the West of the EMEA out on course here. We already wrapped up the Eastern division a little bit earlier.
The WKG team here having a solid ride. They've closed down almost a full 30 seconds here in the first half of the race. So solid ride here coming from WKJ. It's going to be Andy Bruley, Nick, as well as Newman. So DCR here being chased solidly. Zimmerman off the back here. Looks like they're waiting up a little bit. That is a tough one here. If he can't, it's almost a waste of time here at this point to try and close this down. And you just need to tell him to sprint and let it go. It does look like he jumped into orange numbers, but he should have done that immediately with those orange numbers. Does just get back on, but they did have to slow down to 45 kilometers per hour for quite a while.
Yeah, this is the subtle techniques that are required to be successful in the team time trial. It's a black science, if you will. No one really knows the answer to how this works perfectly. As Nathan said, they're trying out new things all the time with different teams, different techniques, and also you got to remember that what works for one team might not work for another squad, because each athlete is going to have unique demands. So many factors go into making a good ride out here. 29K of racing out here today. It's going to be really, really interesting to see at this point now who's out on a good day. The points are what it's all about here. It's interesting how cycling is an individual event, but we talk about a team sport. Well, it really is a team sport here in the ZRL. And there we go. All right, Aeonian in with the fastest time at 12K by quite a bit. Although now I'm wondering. Oh,
there.
no. All right, and I'm wondering then, okay, well, I think we want to just, there you go. So Aeonian looking really good out there. There they are.
17:26 from Aeonian. I have a feeling that the next Saxwatts team, they did come on through pretty quickly there for the WTF, so we'll have to wait and see how that ends up playing out here. But Aeonian 17:26 was faster, I think, than the Saxwatts team. Now, there's still plenty of landscape, though, for Aeonian to finish up. They've got 16.4 to go at the last checkpoint. They are closing down, though, on the team that is the Cryo RDT, as you can see. So Aeonian, Daniel Estrate, always at the front, it seems like. Again, another one of those powerhouses that just carries a lot of the team through at the crucial points. So hammering away 45 kilometers per hour. But another team that I think we definitely need to focusing on a little bit more a lot of times is this Cryo RDT, because they've had some standout rides, and it's really in this last 6 months or so they've slowly put themselves on the radar. Here and there, little shots, boom, fireworks here, fireworks there, quiet, fireworks here, fireworks there, and really in the first week of the ZRL we saw that with a win across the line in this division. So watch out for Cryo RDT. I think they're on the come up here for sure. Colombian rider Baltes, and then it's going to be it's going to be Romanian.
You got it.
Here.
Beth MacGyver. Yep, Romanian, I believe.
Romanian. Yeah.
Right. Beth MacGyver, the Scottish rider, Davina Greenwell on this team, Harriet Gilson, Dijkstra, Lenny Dijkstra, and the final rider, Michelle Van Dyke out of South Africa. You're right, Nathan. Cryo has a really strong squad here, and they've got depth. They've done their homework as well. This is a team I like a lot. Their trajectory is on the way up, no doubt about it. This is a perennial top 5 team that's looking to figure out how to crack the code to get onto the top step of the podium, and I would not bet against these women.
No, not at all. Now we are waiting to see if we can get these splits to start coming on through, as I believe we do have, is that going to be age? Yeah. So it is going to be based off of the last checkpoints, as you can see at that 18K. And as they do come into that 18K here, I'm going to go ahead and update some things here, and we will get a better look at how things are standing. It will be the sunrise, I believe. See, now this is interesting to see here. We'll see if I can get this correct. There it
What's
is.
happening there?
26:47. That is it at the 18K mark. Then draft the ZRL. Then Z Sunrise. Then it's going to be Vikings Valkyrie, Bristol Flyers. So very close again, though, that we saw in the men's situation there, Dave. With
Yeah, and now remember that we haven't had our fastest teams through that checkpoint yet. It'll get faster at 18K by a lot. You're going to look at something close to 26 minutes for Aeonian when that check comes through at 18K.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if what they're able to pull off here with that 18. I mean, I'm looking and seeing.
Well, let's remember that statement from me then, because I'll stick by that. I'm going to say Aeonian 26 flat. That sounds pretty good to me. I'd be surprised if it was much under that, and I'd be surprised if it was much over that, to tell you the truth. I think you're going to see that Sox for Watts WTF is going to be right in the hunt at that check too, Nathan. Again, I'm predicting, but I think you're going to see it's less than 10 seconds as they go into the finale
17.
here.
They were all under 17 at that point, weren't they? So at that
right.
12K.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. They're way faster than Pizza Party was at that point. And that's expected. Pizza Party is part of the Sox for Watts family, and they're the development team there. There's a 26:35.
Or the Atomic Kittens. Solid ride there coming in from them as we're going to try and get them out on screen here. Loving to see what BRT is up to lately. They have been such a force to be reckoned with on the men's side as well as the women's side now. So in the Premier League, they've obviously got a top team that's been battling out for the top spots week in and week out. And now we've seen it also in the Community League here on the women's side of things with these Atomic Kittens here in EMEA. So 26:35, their current fastest time at the 18-kilometer mark.
Wouldn't you say, Nathan, Atomic Kittens and Cryo are the two teams that have a lot of potential ahead of them? I would. That's for sure. We haven't seen the best yet. They're really solid teams that are working hard, and they're gonna have some great results to look forward to.
Captain Curry here, as you do see, 23.6K, 34 minutes in. Levine Rose Newsbauer there looks like just hanging on. Solid ride here from the guest rider that's from Team Type 1. But Duncombe and the rest of this team chasing hard, as you can see, trying to pull things back together. Or pull this in, excuse me, and reel in
Mega.
Sees I Race Like a Girl. It's a little bit of a carrot to chase out there as they're trying to pull that minute back that they got.
I was talking about that yesterday during Premier League, about how that's a real advantage for a team of motivated athletes to have another strong team dangling out in front of them. Their natural instinct, it gets that extra 1% out of you when you already have gotten that extra 1%. So it gives you that 101% effort that is so elusive in the world of sports. But this team is on a roll right now. So I think we've had a nice chance to highlight Aeonian and Sox for Watts, the WTF team, Watt TF team here, as these are the monster squads. These are the two next level teams that have emerged out of our community here. And that's exactly why I love this racing so much, is that we've been able to identify some of the riders to watch for the future. And there's no doubt about it. I mean, you mentioned Catherine Curie a moment ago, Nathan. Does that look like that was Cece we were jumping in with a moment ago? That's one of the in real life riders that has been world class already. She's raced in world championships many times. And now she's in a real battle out here with her Sisu team. We're getting close to the finish. About 1K to go right now. One to go.
Yeah, this is going to be Sox Watts Polka Dot Bombs. We're going to try and catch the finish K here for a lot of the teams as they do come in, see what kind of times that they're pulling at the top of the screen. Now, that will not match perfectly with what's coming through for the splits because it is across the line for the certain, like, what certain riders do across the line is going to be what matters both at the banner and the finish line. So we have gotten questions. It will be a little bit off from what's at the top. It has nothing to do with it being incorrect across the board when it comes to the WTRL timings. Everybody starts with the same spot with WTRL. So they do their absolute best for grabbing that. So looking here, we do see polka dots here, 4.7, 36 kilometers per hour. They're 1% uphill gradient. Now, Thompson, Bristol Flyers there, 7.1 watts per kilogram coming from him, 28 kilometers in, and pulled back some solid times. So Bristol Flyers here battling with that reel in with the Sox Watts. It does look like Thompson with a solid kick there a little bit. Good to see as she fights her machine here to try and get every last second up against these two different teams that they're surrounded by. But Hearst here, they're rolling.
Yeah, this is where you don't wait. I mean, you're well past that point of not waiting. 5K to go is where typically you'd say, well, if we're down to 4, that's fine. At 3K to go is an accepted point, Nathan, to just go ahead and roll with the finishing squad. At that point, you ask the riders, stay on the gas, keep working, because if we have to if something terrible happens, well, we'll have to take a time off you. But right now, again, this is going to be the polka dot bombs across the line with an estimated low 44 finish time there. Let's use 420. A rough estimate right now is here come the Bristol Flyers. Nathan, there's the finish arch.
They are flying here. I do believe they caught this AHDR Arctic Rollers actually, because it's a much lower time there at the top of the screen. Interesting enough to see. Then the French team here with Sophie and the rest, I think, were caught out there as well. Sophie Cavalier.
Look at that.
And Cochran.
It looks at 25:54. They've gone under 26 minutes at 18K, and we still haven't seen Aeonian. But that Sox for Watts team just showing up on the board, 25:54, a new fast time at 18K. I realize we have teams finishing, but there's right now the tail end. So they start in intervals, and the last teams to start would be Aeonian as our series leader, and their check should be coming up here any moment now.
Yeah,
they're just a couple hundred meters away from that checkpoint is what I'm hearing, Nathan.
25:54. Absolutely flying there with the
Remember I was saying
here.
you'd see a sub 26? Yeah, I was saying you'd see a sub 26 because these teams are that good. They really are.
Yeah, they are the top seeds in the Division 1 for sure. Guideson here, Valkyrie, looks like they dropped her off as it looks like the BRT team is coming across. It'll be interesting to see what kind of time that they've got. Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, trying to hold off that Sox Watts team that are right behind them. It's just 6 seconds at this point. It's all coming together kind of here as you see these top seeds have been able to pull back minutes at this point. So pretty amazing to see the level of these teams here in this Division 1 that are looking to get into Premier League.
The Choppers were in the era before Sox for Watts. They were one of the really dominant teams in the WTRL, kind of right as we started picking things up around the 50th edition. They're up to 81 this week when you talk about WTRL. And this is one of the teams that has been around the block with the team time trialing, although a lot of new names as that roster seems to be shuffling a little bit. But Nathan, traditionally we've thought of this team as a team built around triathletes, the Choppers. That's been sort of their calling card.
Yeah, 100% there. And we'll see if they, it's been interesting to see that the reality of Zwift racing up front, they were so dominating, but the attraction and the competition we saw in the WTRL TTT on Thursdays has completely changed the landscape, as well as people really learning not just that big engine on the front, pull, the tactics that are coming through with these burst modes that we've seen, as well as the, different ways to run the blob and the group. I think it changed things up. I think the Choppers had to go back to the drawing board a little bit.
And you know what, Nathan? I think that really well put. And I think that a lot of teams are going to be having to go back to the drawing board as this season we have learned a tremendous amount, as we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Is this Sisu that we're looking at now? TT1F is the blue kit there. And I think that's just a rider who hasn't changed into the purple.
Yeah, and I do believe just so everybody knows, we are looking for updates still. I'm so glad that this week Zwift Power is going in for maintenance. Like, this week is the week, everybody. We've been waiting for it, and we're hoping that the maintenance then, and I believe there's a lot going on in the background to do some stabilization and things with Zwift Power. As pretty awesome to see. It's going to get some focus And I believe we are going to have a lot of stabilization with all of the data as things do change up over the next couple of weeks. So Sox Watts not coming across the line. The question is, where are Cryo and Aeonian, though, in comparison on the day here? Because these are the teams that were chasing Sox Watts. But these teams may have the results based off of also, between these three at the top spots. Really, this is the conversation, I think, when it comes to this specific part of this zone, is these three teams for those top spots: Cryo, Aeonian, Sox Watts, WTF. I think maybe BRT Atomic Kittens in there as well, as they've had a solid time obviously at that 42-12, and I think they're proving themselves a little bit, but not at this level of this Cryo, Aeonian, Sox or Watts. And I think they're battling between each other in the Zwift genres of racing, TTT versus point racing.
All right. Well, this is the run into the finish line we've become very familiar with here. And we've talked about how the teams really push at this point.
Yeah,
just a little over.
The Aeonian team at 59, Sox Watts at 57 points on the league, and then Cryogen Stelvio at 52. So this is a big, what can Cryo pull off here is going to be important, but obviously Aeonian has closed down a huge amount of time already, so they're not taking down Aeonian. The question is, where will they stand up against Sox Watts, WTF? And I think Sox Watts distanced themselves from what you can see. Actually, did they catch Cryo? I think they may have. I'm not positive out here.
Well,
so interesting.
We're in with Jamie Lee Wright. Yeah, we're going to be in with Jamie Lee Wright and the Aeonian team as they are just a couple hundred meters from the finish line. There it is. So this is going to be very interesting now. So they come in, again, as Nathan was just saying, 59 points. So they've had 2 wins and a second. How this one stacks up. The Guernsey flag there for Jamie Lee Wright. Exceptional job as Wright brings Aeonian home. So Sox for Watts, Watt TF. We'll get a look at the finishing times here. It's going to be really exciting, folks, to see how this one sorts out for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa zone. The women, this has been absolutely the zone to watch, in my opinion. I was mentioning that on World of Zwift with OJ Borge last week, how these teams are putting on quite a show out there. Looks like you're going to go back out on course, Nathan. KST here.
Yeah, they're having a solid ride, it looks like. And a little bit, though, separated. They were the second seed on the day, I believe, between the men's West Division 1A. And Sobe here now. Do see SDW Vespide. And then it's going to be Fusion Development Team. And this is what I was talking about with the Fusion team. They've got those kits in game for Fusion ECT, but then they use this Wahooligan kit because Wahoo is a sponsor of their team. Click guard here, we do see Hoffman, Hansen, Nor, and then Galsgaard there. Peterson also in there. Another team like Canyon Esports supporting the development of this esports out here. So great to see that. And we'll start getting some splits in here as soon as we can for the Fusion Dev, get an idea of how things stand. But it does look like they lost a little bit of time to SDW. Behind them, though, Z-Sun making solid chase, only 15 seconds behind.
Well, and there is no doubt, Nathan, how you see that these teams are really more like programs where you have development squads, men's and units team. We're going to see more and more of that because there's so many moving pieces out here. And you look at it with e-racing, you have riders that have windows of opportunity where they can race a lot, and then things happen with school or family or jobs. So you'll see riders coming and going and coming back quite often in the world of esports. And also depending on where you are in the world. There's so many factors that come into, but one thing's for sure, you want to have a good stable of riders, and that, let's look at Sox for Watts. That's a really good example of if they do have a problem with the rider not being able to race on a Thursday for the team time trial with WTRL, Nathan, they have no problem finding a substitute rider that already knows how the team operates, and that's a real luxury to have.
We are getting the splits to start coming in here. We'll get them in the lower left-hand corner. 1 second here, everybody. But there we go. DZR Dynamic Danes coming on in at 808. At the 6K mark, they are a little further in. This was the last time we had a data point, just so everybody knows. So this is where things stood. Probably not exactly what everybody's looking for, but we are getting some data coming on in. Zizion Understatement, Restart Up Nation, and Team Italy. They're obviously still to come through on their seeding. As all the teams are, of course, we'll get the at least an idea looking at how close they are to those that they started around them. As we do see Stephen Pink, as well as Blackburn, Miser, Wheeler, and Hendry, a little ways up from the HDRCC team, as you can see. And this looks like a solid battle between the Restart team. I think that's going to be the B team for the Restarts.
All right.
Having a really good battle here with HDR.
All right, so moving over to the men. Nathan, are we wrapping things up with the women then?
Yeah, we'll be bringing in the results as soon as we can. We are waiting
Alrighty.
on the results to come on in, as we do not have them yet, as Zwift Power is frozen, and that is where all the data comes from. So we just gotta wait
Alrighty.
for Zwift Power to update.
Perfect. Okay, so picking up oh wow, some of the men are pretty deep into it, aren't they? 21K here for the AHDRCC team. So again, bringing everyone up to speed. If you're just joining us, 29K of racing in our community team time trial. We've moved over to Western Europe, Middle East, and Africa now.
Yeah, this is
Tony.
This is the battle. This one. The West here has some of these super top teams that I always am looking out for. Restart, I believe, is in here. We're gonna keep an eye out, but then it's gonna be this here with RK Jedi as well. Another name that we really know. Manert there, it looks like dropped off though. That's not usually you see from this. Tor 2K Callus is here, one of the teams that won in the first round. Across the line there. Then Team Experiment with Zach Herod. I believe Kim Little is most likely. Yep, Kim Little's in here as well with Ujmers. So very well-known names. Innovation Penetrator is here. And then, the Plastic Cockneys with Reese Howell, and then Canyon Dev as well, with the battle between them and Velez and Kaminsky. This is the names that we're going to start to get familiar with here at the top end of this seeding.
All right, so they also now, Plastic Cockneys is a well-known team in the WTRL. So these teams have been racing this is the 4th week of racing in the ZRL. So we'll get a feel for how things have been sorting out for these gentlemen as well coming into. One thing that makes it a little easier for you is that these teams are starting in reverse seed order, meaning the fastest team starting last here based on their performances up to this point. But there you go, 59 points for Restart. So they also then have 2 golds and a silver, if you want to look at it this way, as that 59 points, just one shy of a perfect score to be on the top of the table. 56 for the Plastic Cockneys, who we're in with right now, embedded with their ride. You can see it's tied at 3rd, INC Penetrator and WTRL Skylab sitting on 52 points, and then tied for 5th and 6th as well, or tied for 5th, I guess you'd say, is Team Tour 2000 Callus and Team X, deadlocked at 51. Then you've got AHDR Cheesecake Crew in 7th, Canyon Dev in 8th, Evio Vamos 1 in 9th, and Bike Strong KTM 39 points, sitting in 10th right now.
Innovation Aliens there, looks like 60 points. That's unstoppable so far. 20 points and 20 points, 20 points there for 60 total. And R3R Elo there coming through for 57. Close one, but then dropping off a little bit, it looks like, with the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th within a 4-point spread there. BR2 Draft Beers, WTR Skyfall, and then BRT Craft Beers. KRTB followed up by KSTB1, Soxter Watts, Aero AF, and then it's going to be TFC Magneto AAF rounding out the top 10 in this men's West 1 Division B so far as things stands. And then in the C category, Dave, TFC Bugatti there.
Hey, good for them. 58 points, Nathan. TFC Bugatti on top. TBR 44T with 56 points. Then just so it's kind of 2-point stagger there is Just for Glory is sitting in 3rd right now. Zwift Scotland C1 in 4th. The Woolly Rhinos, RR Woolly Rhinos in 5th. Belgian Zwift Rider Rhinos 3. Interesting rhinos, Nathan. What's going on? 2 rhinos there in 5th and 6th. Then you got KRTC, the Love Guns, in 7th. BRT Cheetahs in 8th. Z Sunderdogs in 9th. And then TFC Thor in 10th. So that's a good look at the C's where it stands right now.
More rhinos,
and then
Dave.
more rhinos.
What's going on here?
Well, 58 points for the RR White. Nathan, if I do get a team together for next season, I probably will be in the Rhino group, I think. So the RR White Rhinos, 58 points, just 1 point back to second for Cryogen, the Hard Knot Pass. And then only one more point back. This one's going to be fun, Nathan. The Ds are really going to have at it. Team CLS Racing D sitting in third. Then you've got the D team in fourth. Herd of Fools and Horses in fifth. TFC Wolverine in sixth. Two guys, Mon Chic in seventh. Team Italy 4 in eighth. BRT Draconis in ninth. And then Herd of One Trick Ponies. That's a good name. I love that. In 10th. All right, Nathan. So that brings us up to speed. Thank you for taking a look at those tables. That lets us know where we stand. Now we're going to find out where we get to sit. Who's going to be on top of the podium?
And we do see Boniface now. Restart Mike Schwartz. I mean, these are really familiar names for anybody in the world of Zwift racing that's been paying any attention to the esports. Cunningham now taking a pole, and they're doing a good job, it looks like, of always focusing on having that 50 kilometers per hour at the front. It does look like that's really their focus out here. 49.50, don't let it drop below that. And that's a good marker a lot of times on these flats to think about. You know, one of the tactics you could do if you're looking to get involved is setting a speed that you have an expectation the team to be at. And if you're judging that the team looks, the avatars are looking like they're going to be organized in a way, or your teammates are dropping watts in ways that might be coming under that in a moment or two, you fill the gap for 50. And it looks like Boniface has been all over that.
I couldn't agree more, Nathan. This is another really experienced team, and they've made it. I'm not surprised at all to see them with 5 riders in about as solid of a formation as you're going to find here as well. I mean, when you hear the names that you were just running off, Jaeger, Boniface, these are the guys that have been putting in the work. Luc Gilbeau as well. This is an all-star team, no doubt. And it shows you, doesn't it, how competitive this league is. That a team this talented isn't running away with it. Tells me we've got some great competition and some real depth.
Yeah, toward the front of this, well, first starters. So currently you are going to see on the board for the last splits at the 18K mark, we'll be leading things out at 23:31. Still waiting for a few more to come through, obviously, for the top seeds. But for those who had started so far, 23:31, 23:37, and a 23:44. I have a feeling those are going to be blown away. The 18K mark, as we just saw these riders go through, maybe a little closer. It was around that 23, 20, maybe sub 23, I think we're going to be looking at for a restart there as they came through the 18K, because they're half a K already past that. So we'll have to wait and see.
Look how they're doing exactly what you were talking about right there. As Gilbeau, if you watch what happened there, he just sensed a little bit of a lull and brought it right back up to 52K, and that helped the team keep the speed high. I think that they might be listening to you, boss.
Well, I think this is a very experienced team, too, and I believe they were one of the first teams to figure this out, perhaps. I'm not positive about that, but I was watching them come through the last couple of weeks, and they are a bursty team. They're a punchy team. They've got some good sprinters. They can really climb very well for short periods of time, so they may have figured it out on their own as well. Having that kind of a rider will, they may have just kind of stumbled upon it, so, and being so familiar with the blob and how it works too. These are riders who have been studying Zwift for years, actually, amongst this crowd.
It's interesting. This is a team almost, is it entirely Americans on that team, Nathan? Certainly a lot of American. Oh, Canadian, Boniface and a Scottish rider there. Excuse me. This is a different team that we're looking at, but definitely Brett Boniface is Canadian, at least. So I would say a North American squad. And so it's interesting to see them racing in this time zone, right? It's more like in the United States, if you're on the East Coast, you're kind of in the middle part of the afternoon right now. So it makes all the sense in the world for them to jump in. If it works for the team, you don't necessarily have to be from Europe. Actually, we saw that with the Mighty Mallards earlier as well, racing all the way over in the Eastern European time zone. This is the West that we're looking at right now. And we've got some teams. This is going to be the Plastic Cockneys, isn't it? Yeah, it is, that we're looking at here. The familiar squad. One of the top teams in esports out here is the Plastic Cockneys.
Interesting to see James Barnes out here, Twitch TV from Innovation. Innovation, one of the top teams out here. We did see them, I believe, as far as the standings go, Innovation penetrated. They are currently 52 points tied with the WTRL Skylab. Where is the Skylab, though? I am not seeing them here. We only see Maynard. Was he the only one to show up? Were they dropped? I'm not sure what's happening with the Skylab. At 52 points tied for third and fourth. That third place up for grabs here. Only 51 points. 1 point difference between Team Tour 2000 Callus and Team Experimental, who would have started just a little ways up from them. So this is quite the battle. And that 15-second gap between the Plastic Cockneys right now, as well as Team Tour 2 Callus. I mean, this is all on here in this last, what are we at? 6K to go, 15 seconds between a lot of these teams, and this is all about that third through sixth place is up for grabs right now as to how these teams perform in this last 5K. It's on right now.
There's our man, Kim Little, and Nathan, absolutely. So what you're going to see is a huge advantage to this team right here because they've got 6 riders. They're strong, and they're going to do – there you go. That's the move right there, coming up and over the top, continuing to put fresh horses on the front. If you feel like you've got the momentum, and here's another example, just bring it on through, boys. Bring it on through. You could not be doing a better job than what these guys are doing right now. So this is it, Nathan. This is what the difference might be, having a full team of 6 that are completely committed. And here's the thing, no passengers, right? You don't have anyone sitting on this team. Everybody is hitting the front, putting their nose in the wind for a moment, taking a pull, and getting off the front when you start to bog down. They're about to hit 60 kilometers per hour. They are absolutely flying right now. All right, our man Kim Little and his team. I saw Zach Herod, another rider on that team that's incredibly useful. We're bringing it on home, Nathan. This one is going to be really, really exciting.
Look at the difference in speed. Same section, 56, 2 kilometers per hour less through this section.
That's what
interesting to see here. Now it's about the same, but it's slowing down faster because they brought less momentum down through the bottom. They did not pull through the bottom of that, maybe resting up to try and hold them more steady, but I think it's going to bite them a little bit here because they did have only 15 seconds to make up when they came into that climb into Titans Grove and then leaving over toward Ocean Boulevard. Now they've lost time. Now Cartledge to the front, though, at 6.0. We'll have to wait and see at the comparison at the next section.
You're going to see teams jettisoning riders like the space shuttle losing a fuel booster because when you're done, you're done. And really, a great teammate for you, when he realizes he's at the end of his rope, will get up to the front and take one last hard pull and completely empty the tank, as we're looking at a lot of teams now that are going to be bearing down on the finish line. Okay, Nathan, this is going to be super close. That's one of the things. I think the Mag 8, the course that we're racing on here today, might be the best team time trial course that we've found on the WTRL circuit. You look at 81 editions. They'll be racing out there again on Thursday. But this is my new favorite course, Nathan. No doubt about it.
This is so interesting to see how this team is matching up against that Team Experimental Chase. We still are not getting updates. Apologies, everybody. It does look like we got a little bit of a freeze still again with the Zwift Power. As soon as it does update, I'll let everybody know. We'll keep bringing the splits as much as we possibly can. But we will be able to see some of the battles here as they are so close between the teams right now at this top seeds, between the 1 minutes or so between each one of them. We'll also be able to jump around a little bit at the end here for some of the other categories within this division. But the battle here between Team Experimental, where is 2T Callus as well? I think they're just ahead of Team Experimental. There they are. They've actually, they're within 1 second gap too. Look at this, 59 seconds, wow. 59 seconds. This is going to come right down to the seconds, the 5 seconds. I mean, it's going to be nothing between these teams for that top 5 placing.
It might be tenths of seconds, Nathan, To be honest, this could be that close. We've been there before. What was it that happened earlier today? That I think we had 5 teams within 7 seconds. But what was even more incredible was we had 3 teams finishing on the same second after 29 kilometers of racing. Think about that for a second. And it was really more like half a second, Nathan, separating first, second, and third. That was out of Europe, Middle East, and Africa. East. We're with the West men right now. These guys are inside of 1K to go. Oh, man, the suffering. Oh, the humanity. At this point now, you're bleeding out of your eyeballs.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that they, that tactic that Sarge the Pros Closet put out there recently in that interview. A lot of people have paid attention, it looks like, to that drop off the front, let a rider come through. It's interesting to see. I'm wondering, I'm watching as these riders drop off the front, and I'm wondering if I've got it right. Like, does it slow everybody down a little bit to do that, to just do that full drop off and allow the next rider to come through? I'm not positive. We're going to
in real life, on that. I don't know, Nathan, when you compare in real life to what we're doing here in esports, but in real life, that was proven to be the fastest way to do it. That doesn't mean it's the fastest way to do it here, though. There are dynamics that change things. So that's where I'm not going to be a traditionalist, right? Be so stuck in the mud with that kind of stuff. Your mind has to be open to new techniques. That's, that was a secret. Yeah. So, but it is interesting. There's no doubt. We'll stop the clock there. Looks like a sub 37 ride.
Yeah,
I appreciate, though, Nathan, where you're coming from on that. You know what I mean? We're going to continue to learn. And if you get so dug in, it's like politics. If you get so dug in that you don't listen anymore, you're not doing yourself a favor. Keep an open mind. A mind is like a parachute. In order to work, it's got to be open, right?
Yeah, 100% there. Now, we are trying to jump back in with 3R. And there they are. Jaden Yager chasing everybody down out on course here. We also got Canyon Dev here just a little ways ahead of them as we wait for the updates to come on through with the results. But Jaden Yager, Brett Boniface, English, Cunningham, Luke Chabot have done an amazing job to close down a huge amount of time. I believe this will be Tortuga Chaos, maybe some of the riders that they dropped off, I would assume. Yeah, so they started with a lot more riders, but these are the riders that were unable to hang with the group as they pulled through. So now Plastic Cockneys here they are making their way to the finish line with Jenkins here at that 6.7 watts per kilogram. So speaking to the in real life versus avatars, based on numbers in a program, these avatars and the way that they interact like in real life in some ways, and then
it's similar, but it's not exact.
Completely unlike. Yeah. Well, I think there's ways that it interacts that are similar, but then there's ways that it interacts that are like the opposite. So it's have to find some language to slice it and dice it, because in one slice of it, like that's completely this part of it, it might be a lot like in real life, and then you slice a whole nother part of it off, and it's like, no, it's totally the opposite. And
like going through the S's, like there's some things, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And just the reality that it's based off of numbers. It's not based off of just where you stand in relationship to somebody that's in front of you with a real body. So it's interesting, that's for sure. We'll have to do a whole science on it in another program, perhaps. But we do see the Plastic Cockneys here.
You and the llama.
Me and the llama. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Finishing up, that's going to be the Plastic Cockneys. I love the way this team is so thorough in labeling themselves. What a professional outfit. So the Cockneys should be way up there today. Expecting, I'll anticipate a top 3 ride. Back in with Restart.
Just finishing up their race. We're still waiting to see if we can get a couple of the splits to come on through. Still frozen and dead, it looks like, here at this point. Apologies, everybody.
But like you said, Zwift Power is going into the shop this week, folks. So we really do expect some improvements for you with that. I absolutely apologize that we can't give you all the data that you want. We recognize it's not the not ideal situation, but they are well aware, working hard on it.
We are going to be able to catch the finish, though, of the men's West Division 1A here. Boniface leading things out 47 at this point, kilometers per hour. Canyon Dev just trying to hold them off. It's a pride thing at this point not to get caught, as well as looking to get a solid time. It's interesting to see how, when it comes to TTT, the difference is, because this is obviously a top-seeded team with this Canyon Dev, but the reality is that they were able to grab points overall with consistency, but this is just a team that's so incredibly strong with restart, and some of the longest. What's also cool is to see some of the longest standing esports riders up against this new fresh blood here, battling out for this spot.
It's such a tight points table with only 1 point separating first and second and third. We start with 20 points given to the team that wins and work our way down. So what that means is it keeps things tight, but as you get toward the end of the season, it's really hard to crack the code, because what you need is other teams to struggle. It's not just about you getting a great result. And it's the best in sport, that's for sure. Now, here we go. Just a couple 100 meters to go, boys.
It does.
And so,
like we'll
Nathan, that's another thing to think about, though. It's not always about racing for the win. Sometimes it's more important that you not go too hard and give up a place, because then you're giving up a point out here as well. But this is going to be restart with an exceptional finish today.
Very, very good finish here. Now, we do have the results for the women's side of things in the women's EMEA West Division. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at that as we wait for the updates to come on in for the men, as we are waiting on Zwift Power to update there. As soon as it does, we will let you know. Now, women's results, though, there it is. You're right, Dave. Aeonian, solid ride.
I feel pretty good. I think I said 10 seconds. So that's right there. Socks for Watts, Watt TF, 10.16 behind Aeonian, who take the win here. That makes it a solid run continuing for Aeonian race team. Congratulations, ladies. Socks for Watts, good for second. Cryogen Stelvio in third. I Race Like a Girl picking up fourth today. The Atomic Kittens doing themselves proud with the top 5 performance. Then you've got the Pizza Party for Socks for Watts in 6th. Draft ZRL in 7th. Bristol Flyers 8th. Z Sunrise in 9th. And then the SWW Vouv Clicquot in 10th. Aeonian gets it done again, Nathan. These ladies are in fuego in the ZRL.
Walking away a little bit with this one, it seems like. We'll have to see if we'll get an update on the standings, but really solid ride. We do have an update on the standings. We'll get those in here in just a second. Let's take a look at the B category, though. Very close race here. Again, it's Sasha Watson and Aeonian in this one as well, as their 6 seconds gap between them. Fox Watts SBR was second there, but Benedita has taken down with first place. HDR, Bells on Bikes, 34 seconds back. Cryogen, Troy, they're followed up by TBR, Dance on. Solid battle there between those 2 seconds difference. Bollinger, SWW Bollinger, followed up by WTRL What's Up, Herd of VSCC, R3R Bewitched, and then CSU, I Race Like a Girl, Kalini across the line in 10th place. Aeonian's dominating here, Dave.
Unbelievable. That's the 3rd division category in a row that they've won. So Aeonian Chicas taking the C's. Close one again. 20 seconds back to KRTC Hotter Than Hell. They'll take the silver. Bronze waiting for Clapham Chaselle's 1. And they were 27 seconds out. Great ride for all the teams up on the podium there. SC Sif in 4th. Socks for Watts Whatnots in 5th. Fearsome 6th. SWW Moe in 7th. TFC Storm in 8th. And the Revo Rolos 9th. SC Trud in 10th. Good job to all our teams out there in the C division. Aeonian, a clean sweep of the A's, B's, and C's. I don't know if they have a team in the D's. They do.
What a ride
Wow.
there. Look at that. Aeonian Diosas there with a solid 141 up from the TBR Wiggle On. Herd of Dolphins, then BRT Blazing Kittens, SZ Sigun, Revo Revels, RCC Women, D, In Real Life Serrano Hams, and then GC Spokes and Mirrors, followed up by Newberry Velo Cougars. And in the women's side of the EMEA West Division 1D. And then we do have an update here after the race for the day. After 4, here's where things stand. Aeonian race team, Sox Watts, second place, 79, 3-point split there. Cryogen Stelvio, 70 currently points there. CCY Race Like a Girl, 65. It is starting to separate a little bit here. Some of these racers are going to have a breakthrough ride as Aeonian and Sox Watts start to battle it out at the very top. Only 3-point spread, but the spread's getting a lot bigger here in 5th, 6th, and 7th with BRT Atomic Kittens there in 5th. SWW Foot, and then it's going to be the Sox Watts Pizza Party. Pretty close here at the bottom of the top 10 with SZGNA, Bristol Flyers, and then Z Sunrise there by only 1 point splits between each of them, 44, 43, and 42 respectively there. In the B's there, more Aeonian at the top. Unstoppable, it looks like, in the B's, Dave.
Yeah, and it's always worth remembering the top 2 teams. So there's a line like the equator after second place as the top 2 teams advance up into the next division. The Banditas sitting with a perfect score right now. Ladies know how to roll, that's for sure. Aeonian Banditas, 80 points on top of the table. Sox for Watts, SBR Cake, 72 points. So that's the real battle, Nathan. See this with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th here. TBR Dance On and the Cryogen Coiffaire. So one of those 3 teams, almost assuredly now, because you see you drop off for SWW Bollinger down to 60 points. So one of those 3 teams is going to advance up into the next division. Good luck, ladies. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm so happy we get to be along on this ride. So Sox for Watts, SBR Cake 2nd, TBR Dance On 3rd. They're tied at 70 with Cryogen Coiffaire. 60 points then for SWW Bollinger. Heard of VSCC at 57 points. I'm afraid to ask what a VSCC is, Nathan. WTRL Watts up in 54 points now in 7th as they're tied with Bells on Bikes from AHDRL in 8th. R3R Bewitched in 9th, and then BVRT in 10th. They're sitting on 43 points. That's your top 10. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, for the C's.
KRTC, Hotter Than Hell 72, followed by Aeonian not dominating at the top of the league standings, even though they won on the day. It looks like they did move up, though, with the Chicas tied for 2nd there with SCC. Cryogen Telegraph there, 4th place. Clapham Chassels, followed by Sox for Watts, Watts Knots. Heard of Cougar Chaos there, 7th there. Almost trying to take down Sox Watts, Watts Knots. 1 point spread there, 6th to 7th there. TFC Storm followed up by SWW Moe. And then it's going to be Fearsome in 10th place in the season. I do believe I got the TFC Storms. I'm here in Carissa. They're battling, it looks like, in the C's here. They lost the rider in the pen, technical problems, but still managed to do great effort. And they're moving up. So shout out to Carissa Min, not calming down.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a
great admin.
Big Carissa Min fan, for sure. Well, all right, Diosas, the Aeonian team with 78 points. This is another going to be interesting battle for the outright win in the D's because Herd of Dolphins won just 2 points back. It's TBR Wiggle On in 3rd, BRT Blazing Kittens in 4th, SZ Sign in 5th. Then you got RCC Women D in 6th. It's the Revo Rebels. Herd of Dolphins 2, IRL Serrano Hams D, and then rounding out our top 10, CMA Misbehaving. That's your top 10 for the EMEA Women's Division D's.
All right, everybody. The moment we've been waiting for. We just saw the men finish up here. We're going to create a little bit of hype. I'm just kidding. A little bit of hype. That was the battle with the restart situation. We also saw that coming into the race with the standings with Restart, Plastic Cockneys, Innovation, WTRL Skylab, Team Tortu Callis, Team Experimental. I mean, it was just like down the line within minor seconds. They're all within the 50-point range too. 59, 56, 52, 52, 51, 51. Very close racing here we're seeing in this West. So there's a lot on the line here. Between them. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as the results do come in. And I was not expecting to see this, and I want to give a shout out to a longtime viewer as well as he started streaming because of the streaming we're doing. and he's actually over on Twitch. It's in his name, James Barnes, Twitch Innovation, and they took it out. I did not expect this at all. Innovation killing it here with this result. Great job. 36-41. And look at what it tells you. At 4.8 watts per kilogram, they know how to ride Zwift. That's a half a watt per kilogram. Less almost. The WTRL Skylab, we're seeing Restart also at 4.8, but they got this organized here. Look at how much this speaks to what we've been talking about here, Dave. This takes talent, tech, and technique, Dave.
Yeah, that technique, because all of these athletes, Nathan, as you well know, almost everybody here is super strong. But boy, that is fascinating. So the penetrator in full effect. You can see it's only 3 seconds and a little change back to the plastic Cockneys. Another incredibly close race. Nathan, this course, my goodness, I'm going to be interested to hear your thoughts, whether this is the best team time trial course that we race on, because Skylab, WTRL, they're in third, only 13 seconds back, 16 seconds back to Restart. We got to hang in with them quite a bit today. That's not a bad ride at all, and yet 16 seconds out puts you into fourth. Team X in fifth, Team Tour 2000 Callis, they're within 30 seconds in sixth. DZR Dynamic Danes in seventh. You're still within a minute when you get to Z Sunder Statement. That's 8th place for them. Evo Vamos won in 9th, and then Canyon Devo, the Canyon Development Squad, 109 out. Good for 10th today. That's your top 10 for Division 1A.
What a close race there. 1 minute.
Yeah, no kidding.
Really? I mean, just amazing to see as this develops. And Innovation continue to dominate at the top there. 39.43, followed up by KRTB Psycho Circus, making it crazy. 2 seconds back there. R3R Elo, 5 seconds back by only 4/100ths of a second between them and WTRL Skyfall.
Wow.
That's so close. What a race there for third. Great job to both of them. The technique, though, for R3R. Look at that top 4. 3.8. The spread is hardly anything. R3R have done their homework. One of the longest standing teams out here in the world of Zwift. They have been around since early beta days, and they are showing it. BRT Draft Beers for fifth there, 24 seconds back. Then it's going to be KST B1, followed up by TFC Magneto, and then Socks for Watts Aero AF there, followed up by DZR Road Rascals, and then BRT Craft Beers. And then for the C's, Dave, at the top, it's Just for Glory.
Hey, nice job. They're going to end up, you can see, I think it's always fascinating. Nathan really got me hip to this watts per kilo. The lower the number, when you see them up there in the top, it just speaks to great technique. Just for Glory clearly doing a good job out there, working hard. TFC Mercenaries in second, TFC Bugatti in third. It's going to be KRTC, the Love Guns, taking fourth. Z Underdogs in fifth. The Woolly Rhinos, RR Woolly Rhinos in sixth. Socks for Watts, What's Up Doc in seventh. BRT, the Cheetahs in eighth. TBR 44T, that's ninth place. And then the Aerodynamic Triathlon Club, Aerodynamic Triathlon Club in 10th.
Doing what they do. Saying arrow.
Doing what they do.
That's all they do. And now it's going to be Cryogen Hard Not Pass, followed up by Team CLS Racing D, 20 seconds back. And then Herd of Fools and Horses. That's going to be a scary situation. RR White Rhinos, followed up by In Real Life Serranos. Then the D team in the D-Cast, right where they belong. TFC Wolverine, followed up by Team Italy 4. BRT Draconas, the Dragons in ninth. And then it's going to be the Herd of One Trick Ponies doing the one trick at the back of the pack. Nice job to the Herd of One Trick Ponies. And in the overall standings, as we continue on with the never-ending results, but you like it, you want this, is because this is what it's all about. As Innovation jump, this is close at the top here. This is what I was talking about. Restart, Plastic Cockneys, Innovation, WTRL, all within 6 points. This is we're just getting started with 6 weeks to go. Team X Tour there as well. AHDR, Canyon Development Squad, Evo Vamos, and then Z Understatement in the top 10 there, Dave. But look at that at the top. That's going to be quite the battle, Dave.
I can't wait, Nathan. We're halfway home now. Yeah, and I mean it goes to show you too. So restart, they end up fourth in the team time trial today. This one is absolutely wide open. Bike racing at its best, and two teams will advance. Will it be Plastic Cockneys with restart? We'll find out. INC Alien can make a real statement out here with their fourth win in a row, Nathan.
Yeah, pretty amazing there. And similar to what we're seeing from the Hino crowd over in the Women's Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
So very dominating team, obviously. We'll have to see if there's an upgrade on its way, because you do get upgrades. That's the cool thing about this. You get an upgrade, everybody gets an upgrade. It's an old meme amongst the Zwift community. Well, this is taking care of that, because the top teams, they move up, they earn their spots. The bottom teams, they move down. Everybody starts moving to where they're supposed to be to have the good competition. R3R Elo there. And the tie there, though, third place, Draft Gears, WTRL Skyfall, KRTB Cycle Circus, followed up by KSTB 1. That's the standings here. BRT, Craft Beer, Sox Watts, Aero AF, TF Magneto, and then it's going to be AAF. And then in the C's, another tight one at the top between BFC Bugatti and Just for Glory. But I think Just for Glory made a big jump here, as Bugatti, I think, just held on with what they already had.
Yeah. You're kind of going clear of TBR 4014, Nathan. You know what? You're going to have to remind me for World of Zwift that we should talk about the teams that are still unbeaten out here, because it's only a couple teams left now, as you were mentioning Hino earlier. So, as Nathan said, Bugatti and Just for Glory here, they're making a pretty good case for the two teams to advance into the B's out of the C's. Again, top two teams go up, bottom two go down. Well, TBR 44T is still in the conversation, sitting in third. KRTC, the Love Guns, in fourth right now with 63. That's close right there as the RR Woolly Rhinos, just 1 point back in fifth. Zwift Scotland C1, 57 points in sixth. Then you got the Z Sunderdogs in seventh. TFC Mercenaries, eighth. BRT Cheetahs in ninth. And then the Belgian Zwift Riders, the Rhinos, 3, sitting in 10th. That's another takeaway. Rhino-based teams, Nathan, having a strong week here.
What is happening at the top here? Team CLS Racing D, 69
Whoa!
points. Right, Rhinos
Three
there,
teams.
69, tied for first. This is a conversation to have for sure. And then only 2 seconds back, it's the herd of fools and horses being dangerous out in the fields. And so
that's not a good situation. Fools and horses together. I'm with you. That's a concerning team name.
But Nathan, a concerning team.
So talk about this for a second with me. CLS Racing D, White Rhinos, and Hard Not Pass from Cryogen. One of those teams is not going to move up into the C's. That just seems heartbreaking to me with the way things are going. But you're never going to find a division that has more parity than what we're looking at here.
So close. I think there's also a reality that they're really good at one thing, some of these teams, and not very good at another thing. Like, there might be the reality that the points race is changing things up a lot one week, and then this TTT is changing things out a ton. And so you're getting this like situation where it's evening out a whole bunch. Perhaps. That's my guess. The D team, though, TFC Wolverine there. Battle going on. 2 point spread, 5th and 6th. Team Italy 4, BRT, the Dragon Draconis, herd of One Trick Ponies, pulling off another trick as they jump up 1 spot ahead of Zwift Scotland D1. And that's going to be it for us today, everybody. That was an awesome broadcast. Had a couple of little struggle times there with the data, but Zwift Power, if you didn't know, head on over there, because at the top it says Zwift Power will be undergoing maintenance Wednesday, November 4th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 17 to 2300 UTC, in order to upgrade the system performance and stability, ensuring even greater reliability for the Zwift community. And so we are really looking forward to that. During the 6-hour update, ZwiftPower.com will be completely unavailable tomorrow. So if you're looking for ZwiftPower.com tomorrow, you will not find it. It will come back with an error. However, no other Zwift systems will be impacted. This has nothing to do with Zwift directly as far as their servers. This has to do with Zwift Power itself and where it's located, how it's going to be functioning, and how its stability goes. We expect any data generated during this outage to appear once the site is back online. Anything you're doing on Zwift then will then be held up until it goes back on over to Zwift Power once it comes back up, and you'll be able to see that information however that works. Or maybe I gave a wrong idea of how that's actually funneled, but it will be available. So good to see that we're going to have some more stability. It's going to be awesome for the broadcast. It's also going to be awesome for everybody who's looking for their results, trying to figure out what's going on, visiting WTRL.racing, visiting ZwiftPower.com, and trying to get an idea of where their events are at and how to track them. Now, if you haven't signed up for ZwiftPower.com and you're like, what are you talking about? You just need to connect your Zwift Power account through your Zwift account. You can do that on the website. You just opt in for your data to be shared, and then that is how you connect all your data over to ZwiftPower.com so that it can track what's happening with all of these events.
And then we'll get you verified.
Then we'll get you verified. Then we'll do all the things. Then we're tracking you. then you're in trouble.
Then we ask you to implant a chip. Yeah.
So
that was a great day, Nathan. That was a lot of fun. I have to say these races are so incredibly close that obviously the parity, the excitement of the racing, the community really thriving here as we hit the midpoint now for our community racing. But we're not done today. We have still plenty more zones as we'll move into the Americas now. I think, isn't that right? America East coming up next in a couple hours here.
Yep. 3.5 hours to the start of the broadcast, a little under that. For the Americas East, it'll be Dave and myself on that. And then we have Kate and Dave taking over for the West. It's a long day for Dave. Well, long day for Nathan.
Yeah, for you.
I think I outworked today. But
you do. Yeah. What time do you wake up? People might wonder, Nathan, are you up at 3 a.m. helping producing the Australian races?
I woke up at 11 p.m. I woke up at 11 p.m. after a nap.
It's a long day.
And then we worked until 5 a.m. Yeah. So
yeah. So, I mean, in all honesty, I want you to know how much we appreciate that, because there's a lot that goes into it. And I know you're helping train up some other Zwift casters, hopefully, and being a big part of a leader in that community. It speaks to the quality of person you are, Nathan. So I really appreciate that. It goes a long way. So we have a lot of racing.
I want to say to that, Dave, what you just said. We hear you. We want to serve all of it, all of the places in the community that we can. We hear you. We hear you. We hear you. And we're looking to train up as much as we can. Everything takes time. Everything takes resources. It's a build, but it's awesome. We're so happy to watch this build up. We've been trying to work on growing this space for a long time. And we see this sport now really taking off, and we're really excited about it. So we definitely hear and we read all the comments and take all the feedback to heart. And we want to grow this out for the Zwift community to highlight what you guys are doing in the community, all of your accomplishments. And you really get to see that the most in racing in a lot of ways. But we also, at times do a couple other fun things. But yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that.
Nathan's pretty busy training me right now. He's got a lot on his plate. For sure. So we have an absolute blast doing this, everybody. Being a part of the Zwift community is an honor, without a doubt. Never going to be lost on me how many cool people we have out there. So keep up the great work. I know that a lot of you have been working on this team time trialing craft, and I hope that the knowledge that Nathan has been trying to impart on us is going to sink in. We're all learning a lot out here, but I know one thing: you guys never lack in showing heart. And that is really makes the broadcast so much fun to do. So, Nathan, I'll throw it back to you. I know that we still have a long day ahead of us.
We do. So we're going to get going here. Two more housekeeping things. WTRL TTT, we will be streaming that on Thursday. Sign up for that. Ends tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So go ahead and sign up for that with your teams. Hurry up. And then outside of that, World of Zwift, we got a couple more broadcasts tonight. Hit those follow buttons if you want to get updated. And the broadcasts are already scheduled. Go check them out. Get your reminders. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you in a few hours for the Americas. Right on.